Good evening, everyone. It is Stone Gas Man live from New York. How is everybody doing tonight? This is going to be our third Saturday night in October. Time for a couple more Chucky commentaries. And tonight we will be looking at and talking about Seed of Chucky from 2004 and Curse of Chucky, the quasi reboot from 2013. Now, even though these two films share the same writer and director, which happens to be Chucky creator Don Mancini, the tones are so radically different that you almost can't believe these two films are part of the same franchise. It's actually very, very shocking at how different they are. I mean, here again, you could hardly tell that this was the same director and writer, but in fact was. Now, Seed of Chucky became the fifth film in the franchise following the original Child's Play trilogy and Bride of Chucky from 1998. Now, 2 days after Bride of Chucky came out, Universal basically greenlit a sequel, and Don Mancini decided to write the script as a tribute to a film from 1953 called Glenn or Glenda. And if that name means anything to you, then you'll probably know that that is from director Edward D. Wood Jr., normally cited as the worst director of the 20th century, which is very if you want to argue that, that's fine. I believe that is far from the truth. And in fact, I blame Michael Medved, who wrote a book in 1980, 2 years after Wood's death, proclaiming Plan 9 from Outer Space as the worst movie of all time. Well, Plan 9 is not the worst movie of all time. As a matter of fact, it's actually very entertaining and very funny, as is Glenn or Glenda from 1953. Now, I'm not expecting a lot of people to come in tonight, which is perfectly fine. Even though I've prepared for these two films a little bit more than I have than the previous commentaries. So at the same time, I mean, we're just going to have some fun tonight. I've got my Yingling, oldest American brewery, 1829, all ready to go. And excuse me. And we're going to have some fun watching Seed of Chucky and Curse of Chucky. I will give 2 minutes to anyone out in the chat. I don't believe anybody is out there tonight, which is, perfectly fine. I mean, hopefully anybody who wants to see these commentaries later could do so. But Seed of Chucky is going to be, I think, a lot of fun because even though a lot of Chucky purists tend to rate this as the worst film of the entire franchise, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. As a matter of fact, I think that it's somewhere in the middle. I can't say it's a better film than Child's Play 2, although I will say I have a little bit more fun watching Seed of Chucky than Child's Play 2, which of course is the ultimate fan favorite of the franchise. But Seed of Chucky just doesn't get enough love, and it doesn't get enough respect. The thing is that, and of course we'll get into it when we start the commentary, but I completely understand and sympathize with the horror community who seem to hate this film, which I think is, I don't think that's, I'm not going to make any assumptions because like I said, Seed of Chucky, as you would call Glenn or Glenda, is a very idiosyncratic sequel. Very idiosyncratic. Don Mancini did not write this as a horror film. He wrote it as a black comedy. Now, Universal rejected his script. As a matter of fact, they sent a note back saying, this is just way too gay. This is way too gay, which is a ridiculous argument. But at the same time, I understand that Universal, they were just looking out for their bottom line, and they wanted a traditional slasher sequel, which is understandable, actually. Considering how well Bride of Chucky did, which, okay, it made 50 million on a $25 million budget. So it's not like, they wanted to repeat that success. I mean, of course, any studio would, or in fact, even improve upon it. Well, sadly, they rejected the script when it was written as Son of Chucky. But as luck would have it, Focus Features, which is the art house distribution arm of Universal, they came forward and said, you know what? We will distribute this movie. So Don Mancini had to get another producer on board, and he filmed the entire movie in Romania. And yet at the same time, Seed of Chucky finally saw the light of day in 2004. So at any rate, here again, I don't think anybody is out there in the chat right at the moment, but I will go ahead and press play in 3 seconds, and we will go ahead and start the commentary pretty much now. So at the count of 3, I have it 0, 0, 0, 0 timestamp at the beginning of the Rogue Pictures logo, and we will start Curse of Chucky. Excuse me, Seed of Chucky. On the count of 3, 3, 2, 1, and start. Now, Rogue Pictures and Focus Features are basically under the same umbrella as Universal. So, and these are, smaller distribution arms. Universal didn't want to have anything to do with this, which is kind of a shame. Now, as you can see, as it says, a Don Mancini film starring Jennifer Tilly, you can see a giant, basically cum filling the screen. I mean, it's pretty obvious that this is a giant amount of cum covering the screen, and we see all these sperms coming at you in under the title sequence, and thus the birth of the son, or the son, quote unquote, of Chucky and Tiffany from Bride of Chucky. Now, at the end of Bride of Chucky, if you remember, excuse me, it basically ended at the graveyard where they went to obtain this amulet, hoping to help Charles Lee Ray eventually get out of the Chucky doll for good. And while they managed to make it, they were, of course, stopped. And because of the fact that Chucky and Tiffany had sex in a honeymoon motel, she, of course, at the very end gave birth to a son who we will meet very early on in this film, because at this point, Chucky and Tiffany are pretty much dead. And Glenn, the son, eventually is, of course, very interested. There is Glenn as he is in the womb. Yeah, in the womb of a rubber doll. See, that's the thing. You have to get made in Japan. You have to get into the spirit of what Don Mancini was doing with this movie. It is a black comedy. It is not a horror film. Once you accept it as a black comedy as he intended, then this film, I think, is much easier to swallow. No pun intended. So we open up with a little girl opening up a present of some kind. She says, "This is the ugliest thing I've seen in my whole life," and let me tell you, I'm sure a lot of Chucky fans said that after watching this movie. But so obviously she's celebrating her birthday, and it's pretty obvious that she got a doll. But is it Chucky? No, it probably is not Chucky. But as we can see, we hear breathing. We hear with the heart is pulsating. And something comes out of that box and is making its way around the house after the parents and their daughter have retired for the evening. and grabs a knife from the cake in the process. Now, as I said, Don Mancini, who is in real life gay, he wanted to write a tribute to the 1953 film, Edward D. Wood film, Glen or Glenda. Now, let me explain what Glen or Glenda is to those who are not in the know. It came out in 1953. It was Edward D. Wood Jr.'s first film, and he actually stars in the movie also, even though top billing was given to Bela Lugosi. More on that in a minute. But he gave himself top billing in this film under the pseudonym Daniel Davies. And he wanted to make a film about transvestism, which was basically a plea for not just tolerance, but acceptance. Now, this was in 1953, okay? It's a 70-minute movie. It's in black and white. And even though it's more or less universally cited as one of the most inept and even worst films of all time, I mean, and like I said, anybody that sees it will no doubt find it as inept and hilarious as movies do get, because there's a narrator who says a bunch of things as we see Ed Wood on screen as Daniel Davis, trying to figure out how to tell his fiance that he wants to wear her clothes. That's basically the gist of the movie, and you know, there's a long surreal sequences of Bela Lugosi in a castle at a top of a mountain, you know, saying things like "Beware, beware, the green dragon is waiting at your doorstep to swallow up all the little boys." You know, it's it's surreal, it's hilarious, and it's beyond anything that anybody could ever expect from a traditional motion picture. But because of the fact this was 1953, it was a film that a lot of scholars today say, well, it was very, very much ahead of its time. Very ahead of its time in more ways than one. And as we can see, this doll is attacking a woman in the shower. There's some blood present, and as you can see, this looks like obviously another homage to Psycho. I know that there was a homage to Psycho in Child's Play 3, but here this one's a little different, and as we see the blood coming from the body and everything. But anyway, going back to okay, so we see a quick glimpse of Glenn the doll there. But going back to Glen or Glenda, I mean, there's a lot of, you know, howlingly hilarious dialogue, top to bottom, from the script that Ed Wood wrote. Here again, Bela Lugosi is, you know, in a castle saying stuff like "Beware, beware," and he's looking at like images of the public being transposed below him, saying, "Oh, the people, and they're all going somewhere." You know, it's and so here in Seed of Chucky, just real quick, we finally see Glenn in his full form. And one of the complaints that I've noticed about this movie from time and time again is that they don't like the design of Glenn. Now, I don't mind the design of Glenn personally, but okay. And so here we are in England at a sideshow where Glenn is at the International Ventriloquist Competition in Glastonbury, England, as it says on screen here. And Glenn is basically being abused and used as a ventriloquist dummy. I'm actually surprised. I wonder if I'm sure Don Mancini has seen Dead of Night, which is the 1945 British anthology film, which is very, very famous for the final sequence featuring Michael Redgrave and his malevolent dummy who eventually starts to terrorize everybody. I'm sure he's seen it or even at least heard of it. But here again, this is basically a giant homage to Glenn or Glenda, and Don Mancini wanted to make a film that that the LGBTQ community would respond to in a very, very positive way. He did not write this as a traditional horror sequel, which I actually admire him for. I mean, I think he had some real balls to actually go into this black comedy LGBTQ direction. Now, I actually don't mind the design of Glenn here. And here again, the animatronics, as with the previous movies, are top notch. Now, granted, this was given half the budget of Bride of Chucky. Bride of Chucky was made for 25 million, and Seed was made for only 12. And unfortunately, it only made twice that much. Same thing with Bride. So, and here again, this is all filmed in Romania. And it seems like in the past 20 years, there have been a lot of movies that have gone to Romania simply because of cutting costs. I mean, you know, a lot of films, they like to go to Canada or someplace in Europe to save money instead of shooting it in California. And this is one of those examples. And actually, Romanian cinema has actually come around in the past 15 years as a major international player in the film market. One of the best films of the 21st century is a film called 4 months, 3 weeks, and 2 days, which is about a college student that has to obtain an illegal abortion, and she recruits her roommate to help her out, despite the fact that this is during a time in the 1980s where it is 100% illegal. 4 months, 3 weeks, and 2 days won the top prize at the Cannes Film Festival. And it's considered by many international film scholars as a absolute masterpiece. And I am 100% with them. It's one of the absolute best out there. But anyway, but a lot of films have been going to Romania to shoot, and here we get a sequence which, as will be revealed, is being shot on a fake film called Chucky Goes Psycho, which is more or less Don Mancini's way of saying, okay, guys, I know this is the type of sequel that you wanted, but just trust me. Let me go down this alternate path because I want to have some fun. And look, I have no doubt that Don Mancini, Jennifer Tilly, and everybody else involved in this film were having nothing but fun shooting. I like the guy with the clicker board that comes out with a Jackass t-shirt. And as you can see, this was a Christmas sequence of some sort being filmed. Yeah, the new horror flick Chucky Goes Psycho. So this is basically a film within a film type of arrangement. And here again, I mean, when I first saw this film, and I did not see this in the theater, I missed this in the theater. I actually waited until video, and I found it kind of baffling. And admittedly, at the time, I did not see, excuse me, I did not see the connection with the Ed Wood film Glenn or Glenda. Which, by the way, if any of you like the movie Ed Wood from 1996 with Johnny Depp as Edward D. Wood Jr., one of the films that's showcased as being filmed is in fact Glenn or Glenda. And here again, it was a film made in 1953, decades ahead of its time, which was basically a plea for tolerance for transvestism. And so as we can, we had Jennifer Tilly back here. And also, Mancini wrote this as a Valentine to Jennifer Tilly, and I mean, this is her movie. You know, the thing is that I mean, I can understand horror films' disappointment in how the Chucky and Tiffany characters are kind of just almost walking jokers in this movie, where with this film, it's all about the jokes. It's all about the jokes. It's all about the black comedy. And here again, if you watch it with that in mind, instead of just thinking this is going to be another horror film, I think you will get a lot more enjoyment out of this. And I've told this to both Chucky fans and non-Chucky fans alike. But there's a lot of inside jokes. There's a lot of in jokes about Hollywood, about the film business. And here again, I mean, I'm sure Universal got it. And yet at the same time, here again, they actually sent a note to Don Mancini when they first read the script back in 98, said, well, this is just too gay. We're not going to produce this. Okay, but here again, luckily, Focus Features took up the project, and the film was actually distributed by Rogue Pictures, which is another independent arm underneath the Universal umbrella. Now, as you can see, Glenn is in a cage here, and he's watching on TV this this fake interview of Chucky and Tiffany, and he is determined. Yeah, because he sees the imprint of "Made in Japan" on the wrist, and he knows, oh my God, these are my parents, and I got to go find them. Even though on the TV screen, I mean, they're not technically, those are not Chucky and Tiffany. Those are dolls that are made to look like Chucky and Tiffany for the filming of this movie. And now, this scene right here brings to mind a lot of films like Freaks from 1931, the Todd Browning classic. And in fact, Todd Browning also directed Dracula with Bela Lugosi, which, here again goes back to the Glenn or Glenda connection. But and Freaks, of course, was set in a circus, and it was focusing entirely on the sideshow performers. And even though from the title you would think that the freaks are actually the sideshow performers themselves, who all have disabilities and are all treated like crap by the actual circus performers, the quote unquote normal humans. In fact, the normal humans are the ones freaks for their bullying and abuse and hazing of these poor sideshow performers. I mean, if you ever check out the movie Freaks, because it is a legendary film. There's a DVD out there with a great documentary about it, which showcases all the sideshow performers as they were depicted in real life. I mean, there were Siamese twins who were essentially emancipated from their owners. They were actually treated as slaves for many, many years before they were allowed to go film Freaks, and they were given freedom for the very, very first time. Now, another film about sideshow performers, which should be noted, I mean, granted, the opening sequence is now over, and now we're in Hollywood, even though this is technically Romania, but it's supposed to be Hollywood. Another film is David Lynch's The Elephant Man, and that's an interesting connection because, Elephant Man is based on the real-life sideshow performer John Merrick, who again was, a real-life a man who lived in England in the 1880s and 1890s, horribly abused by his circus owners, and eventually was given emancipated by Anthony Hopkins, who plays a doctor. And here is the ultimate irony. David Lynch, who made The Elephant Man, and yes, I have The Elephant Man on Blu-ray, and will always be my favorite David Lynch film of all time. David Lynch is a massive fan of Seed of Chucky. Swallow that down, everybody. Just swallow that down for a moment. And he is also a fan of Glenn or Glenda, the film from 1953, which of course is very surreal. One more time, decades ahead of its time. It's free on YouTube. Anybody should check it out, especially Chucky fans. And that's why I want to make a plea. I want to make a plea right now to all Chucky fans out there who hate this film or don't like it. If you don't find it funny, that's one thing. I respect that. But look, watch Ed Wood's Glenn or Glenda Then watch Seed of Chucky, and I assure you, you will appreciate Seed of Chucky so much more once you check out Ed Wood's Glen or Glenda. You will see exactly what Don Mancini was doing, and you can just sit back and have some fun. And that's what I'm saying, is that I actually embrace the comedy in this movie. Now, now here again, you want some real black comedy. Here, check this out. Jennifer Tilly is trying to seduce a director played by Redman, the rapper Redman, who is in a very funny marijuana comedy from 1998 called How High. And as you can see, there's a poster of Al Pacino's Scarface right behind him. And she wants to get the lead role in his new film where Jennifer Tilly is going to play the Virgin Mary. Of all characters, Jennifer Tilly wants to play the Virgin Mary in a film directed by Redman. Here again, let that sink in for a moment. Just let that sink in. Now, another thing I wanted to mention here real quick, as you can see, Glenn has essentially shipped himself off to Hollywood. And this is something that's going to come into play in Curse and Cult of Chucky a little bit later, where Chucky and Tiffany end up in boxes being shipped to different places. And we'll get to Curse of Chucky when we get and we'll talk about that when it comes. But as you can see, Glenn has basically escaped from England. He has come to America to learn about his birth and about his parents, who, of course, are Chucky and Tiffany. As we come right here. Now, as you can see, there's a much different look to Tiffany intentionally. A much different look of Tiffany here, and that's because Don Mancini wanted to emphasize that these are not Chucky and Tiffany. These are dolls made from the likenesses of Chucky and Tiffany. And here again, Glenn wants to use the amulet that we saw in the previous film to bring Chucky and Tiffany back to life. And they're basically given all new doll bodies at this point. And so it's actually a black comedy about a son's search for his parents, and and his ambition is not to kill. That's the thing that is going to be permeating throughout this movie, is that his whole arc is that he hates the fact that his parents are murderers, and he wants them desperately to go straight and to raise him properly. In other words, be good, responsible parents. And as you can see, Chucky and Tiffany have officially come awake. And yes, these are the voices of Brad Dourif and Jennifer Tilly once again. Here's the odd thing. Chucky, in this instance, actually looks very similar to the previous movie with some slight exceptions. I mean, you could see his hair is much different. It's kind of stapled and everything. The scars are the same, more or less. And Jennifer Tilly's character is actually, I mean, the eyes are different. She's there are cosmetic differences to both of these dolls from the previous. I mean, I wonder what they must look like. And of course, here we go, Brad Dourif making jokes again as Charles Lee Ray. Excuse me for a moment. And so, so you are our son, and we were all made in Japan, or rather, our doll, our doll bodies were all made in Japan, and that's how they're able to identify with each other, which I actually think is kind of funny. Chucky faints. Tiffany, she hugs her son, and Tiffany is more than ready to actually go straight just for Glenn. So, I mean, here again, if this wasn't a comedy, this is actually a little touching. But here again, I mean, we need these one-liners to come into play. And yeah, we're movie stars. I mean, here again, there's a lot of surreal elements like there were in Glen or Glenda from 1953. And here again, any Chucky fan, I implore you out there to watch Ed Wood's movie Glenn or Glenda. And if you want to go the extra mile, watch Ed Wood with Johnny Depp, which that's one of Johnny Depp's best performances. I think it's one of Tim Burton's best films, hand down. Filmed in black and white in 1994. It also has Bill Murray, Martin Landau, who played Bela Lugosi. He won an Oscar for that role, and the Rick Baker's makeup also won an Oscar. It was a rare film about the quote unquote worst filmmaker of all time, and it got Oscar recognition. Here again, pretty surreal. Pretty surreal. Now, like like the other films, though, there is. Even though this is really not a horror film at its surface. This is more of a slasher movie with a heavy black comedy quotient. But there is some gore, as you can see. This is actually a pretty cool kill, even though the effects are questionable. This was around the time when CGI was finally starting to seep its way into films. And yet at the same time, these are still very much old-fashioned animatronics. And so, look, we're supposed to love the fact that Chucky and Tiffany are making out, and then we get to see Glenn pissing his pants. And of course, this kind of answers the question from the previous movie in Bride of Chucky, because I was inquiring, well, wait a minute. Chucky is actually drinking liquid. Is he able to urinate it out? Well, in this movie, I guess the dolls are able to urinate now. Or at least Glenn is. Because we've actually seen it twice by now. Now, okay, here's the funny thing, too, because, as you can see, they basically wanted to check out Glenn's gender and realizes, oh my God, there's no anatomy. But here again, the thing is, it's a fucking doll. That's the thing. The whole joke throughout this movie is, is Glenn going to be a boy or is Glenn going to be a girl? Here again, based on the Ed Wood movie. But the point is, it's almost irrelevant because look, they're fucking dolls. Which in my opinion makes it a lot more funnier. Here again, Don Mancini wanted to appeal to an LGBTQ crowd. And, Universal wants to make the argument that that is a very small sector of the movie-going public. Even in the horror film community. At the same time, I actually embrace this direction. I embrace the change because the interesting thing about the Chucky franchise is that most of the films have very different and disparaging tones. This is the one that really cranks the comedy up to 11. And in many ways, look, I'm sorry, I get a kick out of seeing Jennifer Tilly strutting around eating a candy bar. I get so much joy out of that just because I love Jennifer Tilly. That's the thing. If you're a Jennifer Tilly fan, whether you're a Chucky fan or not, you have no excuse. You have to see Seed of Chucky because here again, in many ways, Don Mancini also wrote this film specifically for Tilly to, and she owns this movie. She literally owns this movie. Here's some good old-fashioned makeup effects. This bit where she holds the guy's head and everything reminds me of that bit in Tropic Thunder where Ben Stiller and his gang with Jack Black and Robert Downey Jr., they see the director, played by Steve Coogan, just explode right in front of them. And they think it's all, quote unquote movie magic, but in reality, he was actually killed by a bomb in the ground because they're in Cambodia or whatever. And so it reminded me of that. Okay, now here we have John Waters, and it's very, very appropriate that John Waters, the Baltimore filmmaker, appears in this movie. It's actually extremely appropriate because, as many film aficionados know, including myself, John Waters is responsible for a number of films about so-called freaks and weirdos of society. I mean, he's responsible for the legendary Pink Flamingos, which came out in 1972, which is the film that really put him on the map as a independent Baltimore filmmaker, which basically has a woman living in a trailer park competing for the filthiest person alive. And like her mother is in a baby carriage with the loving the Eggman and just loving her eggs and everything. And when you watch that movie, you can just tell that John Waters loves all of these characters, even though not all of them are savory. And and he made other films like Female Trouble. He made Hairspray, which was eventually remade with John Travolta. Probably my favorite John Waters film, though, actually came out the same year as Seed of Chucky, and that would be A Dirty Shame, starring Tracy Ullman and Johnny Knoxville. And in that film, Tracy Ullman, we're not from Japan, we're from Jersey. Yes. And just think, Jennifer Tilly is playing me in a movie. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of great, surreal little inside gags in this. But anyway, Dirty Shame, of course, is about Tracy Ullman, who plays a housewife in Baltimore, married to Chris Isaac. Very conservative, very prim and proper. She gets hit on the head, and she becomes this woman just searching for sex everywhere she goes. You know, she says things like, to her husband, like, discover the oyster, and forcing her husband to go down on her and giving her cunnilingus and saying, oh, that's what I call sneezing in the cabbage. And it's a film about sex addicts. I mean, and nothing is more hilarious in that movie when Tracy Ullman goes to a sex addicts meeting and meets Patty Hearst, the woman that was kidnapped by the Liberation Army in 1974 and eventually became friends with John Waters. And I swear to God, this is what she says to Tracy Ullman in the movie. Make a list of all the people you have fucked and then apologize to their parents. Yeah. Dirty Shame is hands down a hilarious movie. And okay. But anyway, back to Seed of Chucky now. So, Chucky and Tiffany realize that there's a movie being made about them with Jennifer Tilly, providing the voice of Tiffany. Here again, it's a real in joke. And like I said, she is determined to seduce Redman, the rapper Redman, to play the Virgin Mary in his upcoming film. I don't know what you guys think, but I'll watch any movie with Jennifer Tilly. So I'm more than down to watching her play the Virgin Mary in a movie directed by Redman. I am totally down for that. Totally down for that. And as you can see, I mean, Jennifer Tilly, at this point, and basically from every movie I've seen her, I don't think she's ever been more sexy. In Bride of Chucky, she made a massive impression, but here I think she goes even further in Seed of Chucky. Now, of course, we're going out to this mansion in the Hollywood Hills. Okay, that. The CGI spider, I could live with that. I mean, I don't understand why they couldn't have used a real spider, but then everything seems to be a joke in this movie, so it almost doesn't matter. So they put a bow in Glenda's head. Okay, now here's the ultimate question that Glenn poses to them: is that why do you kill people? Why are you killing people? And and Chucky basically just says, well, it's a hobby, it's just a hobby. And, and of course, Chucky thinks it's a family tradition that Glenn should become a killer as well. Well, maybe Glenn has other interests instead of murdering people. Have you ever considered that? Violins are bad. The screeching music's going to ruin the goddamn country. See, that's what I'm saying. There are plenty of lines. There are plenty of funny lines by Chucky in this movie. In fact, I would almost make the argument that there's more funny lines in this movie than Child's Play 2 and 3 combined. But here again, Child's Play 2 and 3 were all about straight horror, whereas this film has a completely different modus operandi, completely different. Um, Tiffany is saying to Chucky, we should quit for the sake of our son. And here again, it hints at what I was talking about before in Bride of Chucky on that commentary, in that, what if we were going to see Chucky and Tiffany in a domestic situation, and they actually had a child? Well, this kind of actually goes further in that direction, you know. But okay, now going back to the whole thing of Universal giving Don Mancini this note saying, this is too gay. Well, I'm going to be perfectly honest. In Glenn or Glenda, the interesting thing about Glenn or Glenda, when Ed Wood made it, he actually has an on-screen narrator saying, he is a transvestite. He is not gay, because he's trying to tell his fiance, who he loves very, very much, that he just wants to wear her clothes. And of course, she's bitching and complaining about, oh, my cardigans are all stretched out. She actually bitches and complains to her girlfriends about how her clothes are being ruined because Glenn wants to wear them and become Glenda, more or less. But the whole point, the thing is, it wants to distinguish between transvestism and homosexuality, which are, of course, two completely different things. And here again, Glenn or Glenda being decades ahead of its time, it was really a plea for tolerance, primarily for transvestism, and not necessarily for homosexuality, which other films would go towards later. But here again, I mean, look, I've seen plenty of Chucky rankings and Child's Play rankings of the franchise online. This always tends to be at the bottom. Now, I mean, look, I'm not going to write off everybody that does that as being, homophobic. It's like, oh, no, this movie's too gay, acting like Universal Studios. I'm not going to assume that at all. But at the same time, I can completely understand why the complete change in tone would turn off traditional Chucky fans. I completely understand that. I mean, my opinion, Child's Play 3 is the weakest film in the franchise, but I still... Okay, we just had Tiffany flash her tits, which of course, which is pretty funny, but I mean, Child's Play 3 here again was going for straight horror, but here again, I think there's only literally only one funny line in the whole movie. This movie, I think, has at least 20 funny lines. I mean, Don Mancini was really having a crack up good time when he was writing this. He really wanted to make the audience laugh. And here again, because horror fans wanted straight horror, I can understand the disappointment. I can completely understand and empathize with the disappointment. Like, I mean, I'm sure that people were asking, well, what the hell is John Waters doing in this movie? What the hell is Redman doing in this movie? Now, but here's the thing. The movie still has kills. It still has gore. Now, yes, there is some early CGI, which isn't really all that good. But here again, I think it also supports the idea that this is a black comedy first and a horror comedy third. The second, it's really a comic slasher movie in many instances. Now, okay, here we have Jennifer Tilly about to seduce Redman, so she can play the Virgin Mary in his new film, and they bring up the movie Bound. Now, and they talk about Gina Gershon. Now, for those of you who've never seen Bound, let me tell you, it is the movie that I fell in love with Jennifer Tilly as an actress. Bound is a movie that was written and directed by the Wachowskis back in 1996. And Jennifer Tilly plays a gangster's moll who's with Joe Pantoliano, who was later in The Matrix. And she starts a relationship with Gina Gershon, and they proceed to make to not only have this relationship, but also make off with Joey Pants's money. And there's some pretty sensual lesbian scenes in Bound. If you ever decide to check it out, look, I'm just saying, look, I was 17, 18 years old when Bound came out in 1996. And I thought seeing Jennifer Tilly and Gina Gershon having sex on screen. Okay, Chucky is masturbating. But anyway, Chucky is masturbating right now, just to let everybody know. But the look, I'm sorry. I do find it funny that Chucky is masturbating and John Waters is filming the whole thing. I find that hilarious. Okay, sue me. But anyway, going back to Bound, which Redman and Jennifer Tilly were talking about before they started making out. It's a brilliant neo noir. It's very much in the style of 1940s films, just like Body Heat was from 1981 with Kathleen Turner. Very much a modern day neo noir, and I think it's a masterpiece. Lesbian scenes aside, and I still think it's the Wachowskis' best movie that they ever made, even above The Matrix. And look, just real quick, I'm sorry to say that. Just real quick, I'm sorry to say, I did not see The Matrix until a year after its release because I was on a boat in Japan cruising around with the Navy. And, I didn't see it for an entire year. And when I finally saw it, I was kind of underwhelmed. After all the buzz, after all the praise that it had received, I was a bit underwhelmed. And like I said, I got way tired of the bullet time, stuff and all that. So, here again, just trust me on this. Bound, I think, is the Wachowskis' masterpiece. And I actually did like their other films like V for Vendetta. And, I did actually like those. But seriously, Bound, Joe Pantoliano, Jennifer Tilly, and Gina Gershon, one of the best films of the 90s, one of the best noirs. And like I said, the lesbian scenes in that movie are unforgettable. They're just unforgettable, no question. And Jennifer Tilly, like I said, has never been hotter on screen, if you ask me. And here, of course, she's dealing with Tiffany the doll. Here again, ironically enough, voiced by Jennifer Tilly. And and she's basically going to be held hostage, and she gets knocked out and everything. Excuse me for a moment. I need to take another swig. Check it out, Tiffany. Look at the size of his feet. Yeah. For anybody that just came in, welcome, and I will provide you all with a timestamp. I'm at approximately 41 minutes and 30 seconds into Seed of Chucky, which is a little almost halfway through. So yeah, go to 41 minutes and 31 seconds, and oh god, the turkey baster. The thing is that years later, I'm sure a lot of you have seen the movie Don't Breathe, directed by Fede Alvarez in 2016, which is actually a really good domestic thriller about three robbers who infiltrate this house to rob an old man, this veteran who is blind. But they end up being trapped in the house and being stalked by this blind man, which is, unbelievable, but it's actually a really good thriller. And in that film, it's pretty disturbing how, this blind veteran has a woman in the basement that he's using a turkey baster to actually impregnate her. And that's what they're planning to do with Jennifer Tilly here. Hunting. So here's the question: does Glenn or Glenda are they gonna become a killer by the end of the movie? Are they going to is he going to embrace his parents' murderous ways, or And that's the interesting thing, is that it's really told completely from Glenn's point of view. This is less a Chucky movie than it is a Glenn movie. Okay, so here we have Britney Spears. We have Chucky following Britney Spears in this car. Britney just gave Chucky the finger, and on top of that, Chucky's driving a Hummer. And let me just say, I'm not a big fan of the Hummers. I mean, hey, if I wanted a Hummer, I would have asked for one. Okay, GM, all I'm saying. But I mean, so Chucky ends up running Britney Spears off the road, which I actually think is pretty damn funny. And that I believe that was the real Britney Spears. I mean, I probably should have double checked that, but that actually did look like her. That looked exactly like her. So John Waters actually has a much bigger role in this movie than I originally anticipated, where he just plays this sleazy paparazzi guy who took all these pictures of Chucky masturbating as Jennifer Tilly was seducing Redman. And I mean, here again, this sounds all very, very silly stuff for a Child's Play movie. But here again, you know, Don Mancini wanted to embrace this black comedy aspect and appeal to the LGBTQ audience. And I don't think there's any problem with that at all. I mean, he's the creator of this franchise. And personally, I think he should be allowed to do whatever the hell he wants. I mean, Universal may have thought that the script was too gay, but so what? So the hell what? I mean, as a comedy, I think this movie has its fair share of laughs. And, I can understand why horror fans were like, seriously, what the fuck? But here again, you have to go in knowing what Mancini was trying to do if you're going to get anything out of this whatsoever. And, here again, I think the movie is actually quite funny, but it's not high on my ranking. I will say that. The interesting thing is I can't put it above Child's Play 2 because Child's Play 2 is just in so many ways much better made. And even has an equal amount of lines. Oh, John Waters just got it really good here with the acid. Oh, now see, this is a pretty grisly scene. Okay, this is a pretty grisly death for John Waters, which, kid, you're a fucking natural. Chucky assumes that Glenn did it on purpose and proceeds to use it as a way of showcasing that, hey, the kid's got it in him. He's got it in him to kill, kill, kill. And there's this, he actually gets out a camera to take a picture of John Waters with this horribly hideous face burned by acid. And okay. Okay, Jennifer Tilly and Redman, they're waking up in bed. And of course, there's this misunderstanding where they had sex. Well, they were about to have sex, so it's a pretty natural assumption. Oh God! And can I just say, I'll say it for the 1,000th time, Jennifer Tilly is just too gorgeous in this movie. I mean, she burns up the screen literally with her presence, I believe. I mean, in Bride of Chucky, she did, and she does the same thing here in Seed of Chucky. And the thing is that in the next two films, she has a very marginal role in both of them. But and she's about to appear on the Chucky series, which I have not seen yet, but I do intend to start watching it after next Saturday when I do the commentaries for Cult of Chucky and the remake from 2 years ago with Mark Hamill giving the voice of Buddy, who is essentially the new Chucky. And 12 Steps in 3 Days, a guide for the busy addict. And here again, like I was talking about a Dirty Shame also, which John Waters directed. Here again, all these films, Glenn or Glenda, Freaks, the John Waters movies, they all have connections and influences to Seed of Chucky, which here again, I mean, in a really odd way, I think that film historians would get more out of Seed of Chucky, believe it or not, than average Chucky fans, which I know sounds really wild. But here again, it's kind of disparaging when I see Seed of Chucky on so many rankings of Chucky rankings, and 9 times out of 10 it's at the bottom. And look, I understand completely, a traditional horror fan who looked at this film like, well, this is not a horror film. Yes. Here again, I would understand that initial disappointment 100%. Um, Yet at the same time, I do believe that Seed of Chucky is a bit misunderstood. And I think it's funnier than most people give it credit for. But here again, I also think I'm in a minority about Seed of Chucky because here again, I got enough out of this movie. I think in the Chucky, for my ranking, this would probably be it would either be 5, 6, or 7. It would be in the lower half, but I still like it because I still love the franchise as a whole. And that's why one of the reasons why I wanted to do these commentaries was actually particularly for Seed of Chucky and actually give it some kind of defense, because for so long, from Chucky and horror fans, this film has been hated, ridiculed, dismissed, and misunderstood. And I wanted to put up a very strong defense for it. Here again, I mean, watching Glenn or Glenda before this is not necessarily a requirement, but at the same time, it would certainly increase um, one's appreciation for what Don Mancini was doing. Hey, Dan, how you doing tonight? Oh, finally, I got a comment in the chat. Yes, Tilly is still a goddess in her 60s. Oh my God. Oh my God, she ages like fine wine, Dan. She seriously does. I mean, she's gorgeous in everything that she does, and especially in Bound. Like, yeah, talk about the Wachowskis, going all out. Yeah, watch Bound, not just for the lesbian scenes, but for the noir nature of the whole movie. Brilliant, brilliant film. But here we have Jennifer Tilly and Redman having dinner. Now, I'll be perfectly honest. I am not a fan of rap. That is just me. I have never listened to any of Redman's music, but I did like the movie How High, like I said, from 1998, which featured him and Method Man. Now, granted, I haven't seen it since 1998. I saw it in the theaters and have pretty much completely forgotten about it. The only thing I do remember is that it had actually, all I remember about it is it was from the director of American Wedding, and I don't believe he directed much after that, to be perfectly honest. Redman's like, she's got to be hot. Well, hey, I mean, you got an actress in front of you that's hotter than the fucking sun. Of course, she should play the Virgin fucking Mary. Okay. Yeah. I've been going 3 hours and my voice is going. Otherwise, I'd hop on. Bound is a great film, even setting the steamy signs said exactly, Dan. Exactly. Seriously, I maybe I should do a 25th anniversary commentary for Bound because, I would love to get a bunch of Matrix fans and put them in a theater, give them beer, give them weed, give them whatever they want, but sit down and watch Bound. And when it's over, you tell me, is this better than The Matrix or not? But, and look, I have nothing but respect for The Matrix. Nothing but respect for The Matrix. I'm not a fan of the sequels, and I'm still on the fence if I want to see The Matrix 4, which is set to come out actually in December, believe it or not. But here again, I like the Wachowski movies more than most people. I mean, I did like V for Vendetta, and I did like the first Matrix, and I liked Matrix Reloaded up until the LA freeway chase. After that is when the Matrix films just went way downhill for me. And look, I mean, I'm not saying that the first film isn't thought provoking. It most certainly it is. But I got more out of Jennifer Tilly and Gina Gershon and the noir aspects of Bound than I did for the slow bullet time stuff in the Matrix, which in my opinion was dated after only a few years. So anyway, the body count is beginning to rise here a little bit. John Waters, that great fucking death with the acid all over his face. Pretty grisly scene, especially for a movie that's primarily being a comedy. Redman, he's a rapper too. I mean, look, if anybody in the chat thinks I should listen to Redman's music, I'll give him a chance. No problem whatsoever. I actually think he's very funny in this movie. Um, and I always love on Jennifer Tilly as well as Tiffany that little tattoo of the heart with the word Chucky written on it. I don't think Jennifer Tilly herself has the Chucky written on there. I could be wrong. Um, oh yeah, okay. So because this is Jennifer Tilly, the actress, so she's basically playing herself in this movie, but at the same time providing the voice of Tiffany. And here again, the voice work from Jennifer and Brad, stellar and hilarious in so many ways. By the way, Redman dropped dead. Oh man. And of course, right at that moment, he drops dead when Tiffany actually cuts out his intestines and actually calls Glenn Glenda for the very first time. Um, um, it'll be our little secret. Oh, okay. Well, maybe killing is not maybe killing is actually a pretty cool hobby for these dolls. The twitch of the eye, I like that. Here again, people complain about Glenn's design. I don't mind it. I honestly don't mind it at all. Okay, file footage of Martha Stewart going to prison. You all remember that when Martha Stewart going to prison? That was a big news story back in the day. I mentioned on The Bride of Chucky. I remember when Paris Hilton went to jail, and I actually said I wasn't on Twitter at the time, but if I was, I would have said, well, they should make a movie about this and call it the Shawshank Redemption. But here's Jennifer Tilly. I mean, pregnant, as you can see. Oh no, she does realize that. Yeah, that's what happens when turkey based are full of sperm injected into you. Here again, it reminds me of Don't Breathe. I can't help it. It absolutely reminds me of Don't Breathe, which came out many years later. For the love of Mary, I'm pregnant. And that's the thing. I mean, I'll say it one more time. If you're a Jennifer Tilly fan, you have no excuse. You need to watch Seed of Chucky, and I implore you to get on board on the black comedy train here because it's such a trip. It really is. It really is. But in many, in many ways, I decided to do this entire commentary series just to talk about Seed of Chucky in some ways and give it a defense. Give it a defense for the love of God or for the love of Chucky, if you prefer. Uh, Chucky trying to. It's pretty good. Well, Bound is on cable. Gina Gershon is fingering me. Oh my God. Oh God, the in jokes are glorious. They're glorious in this movie. Yeah, seriously, guys. I mean, when you're done sometime next week, just watch Bound. Just watch Bound. Oh, it's so good, so good. If anybody that has just joined us, I'd like to welcome you, and I will give you a timestamp on Seed of Chucky real quick. We are approximately 57 minutes in. So jump to the 57-minute mark and you will join me. And there's the picture of John Waters with his burned acid face. Or it might have been nitroglycerine, I forget. But yeah. Now here's Tiffany actually imploring Chucky, look, for the sake of our child, can we just stop killing people? Like, can we just stop killing people for the sake of our little boy or little girl or whatever identity he chooses? Let he or she choose who he or she wants to be, and let's just be responsible fucking parents, okay? I actually find this funny. I mean, look, I understand if you're a Chucky film and you just want to see Chucky just murder a bunch of people and spout one-liners. Look, I totally get that. But again, this is a great shot. This is a great shot of Jennifer Tilly bound and gagged, pun intended, uh, on the bed. And these dolls are having this argument in front of her. like, like they're having an argument about parental responsibility. I mean, I find it hilarious. I really, really do. Um, One thing I do like about Glenn's design is the blue eyes. I mean, they really, really come out. I mean, the hair, I'm not as big. I'm not as big on the hair as I am for Chucky or Tiffany, Glenda, Glenn, whatever. I'm so proud of you. And here again, for those who missed it out during the earlier part of the commentary, you know, Glenn or Glenda from 1953, which was a decades ahead of its time call for tolerance. It really should have been provided on the bonus features for this movie. Unfortunately, Universal just couldn't accept it. I mean, of course, they'll accept a homage to Bride of Frankenstein, which is one of the most classic films that they have in their library. But Ed Wood's Glenn or Glenda, and here again, I can see Universal making an argument. Well, look, nobody's going to get this. I mean, because like I said, who outside of the film community, out of the classic film community, has even heard of Glenn or Glenda? That's actually a very valid argument. But here again, that's what I think goes along with the idiosyncrasy of this movie, in that it's homaging a movie that is considered one of the worst films ever made, and yet it's actually now more or less embraced as a film completely ahead of its time, which is a plea for the not only the tolerance but acceptance of transvestism. Here again, decades ahead of its time. And I really love and respect Don Mancini for going in this direction, however unorthodox it may have been for the series. However unorthodox it must have been. And I get a kick out of the comedy. I get a kick out of the kills, and just for the not only the one-liners but just for the arguments that Chucky, this dilemma that Glenn has. Am I a boy? Am I a girl? How do I make my parents go straight so they don't kill anybody? Here again, it's very, very, very amusing stuff if you're on board for that reason. Which here again, you have to get on the jet plane for that. And here again, I can understand why horror fans didn't for whatever reason. But I'm so glad I'm doing this, because I really wanted to put up a defense for this movie. And I'm sure Seed of Chucky has its fans, but at the same time, here again, nearly every ranking I've seen of the Chucky franchise always has this at the bottom. And I think quite frank, I just think it's a little unfair. A little unfair. It's that nosy bitch Joan. But anyway, I'd like to make a toast to everybody out in the chat with my Yingling, founded in 1829 brewery. Oh, welcome, Cable Channel 11. I'm glad you're here. My friend likes to call Seed of Chucky a midnight movie. Yes, you hit the nail on the head there. Sort of the kind of movies John Waters did. Well, yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense why he's also in the movie, and here again, it's about the acceptance of different kinds of people. Absolutely. Shout out Dan Shine. Yes. And I agree, Tilly is still sexy in her older age. Oh my God. I mean, look, I follow her on Twitter, and I don't retweet everything, but whenever she appears in a picture, she just glows, and I always feel the need to retweet it. Always. The bound jokes were great in this. And here again, okay, let me just say also again, I am sure that a lot of whether you're in the horror community or not, I'm sure that there has been just as many people who have never heard of Bound as they never heard of Glenn and Glenda. If you've seen those two films, you will look at this film on a completely different level, a 100% different level. And here again, not only understand, but appreciate it. And that's why I implore everybody to, If you only saw this once and dismissed it, we'll tell you what. Watch Glen or Glenda and or Bound. Hell, watch both of them. Then watch Seed of Chucky again. And I promise you, you will come out with a new appreciation. Oh, this is a pretty, it's a pretty horrible death right there. And here again, this film has its fair share of kills, some of them quite gruesome. I mean, seriously, some of these kills are actually very gruesome and very, very memorable, which here again, I don't think those are brought up as much as they should be. Oh, damn. Here again, the body count is rising and rising and rising. Oh, absolutely. Okay. Timestamp 1 hour and 4 minutes. 1 hour and 4 minutes. And we have approximately 23 minutes left to go. Now, okay. When Glenn officially becomes Glenda, I swear that face does remind me of John Waters. I would not be surprised if Don Mancini was 100% intentional of giving Glenda a resemblance to John Waters. I 100% believe that. And here again, if you're a John Waters fan, you'll probably love this movie. Even if you're not a Chucky fan, I'm sure you will love it. So yes, this is Glenn in full Glenda glory, as you could say. I'm a bona fide bonus, baby. Jesus Christ, Chucky, what did you do to him? Oh my God. This is just all great, great stuff, I think. Here again, I mean, almost as great as the stuff in the end of Child's Play 2. I mean, seriously, I really, really dig all this. Mm. Mm. And cheers, my father-in-law loves Yingling beer, but we can't get it in Iowa. Oh, yeah. The brewery is actually in, the brewery is actually in Pennsylvania, Pottsville, Pennsylvania. But I believe, I don't know if you can order it. I've never ordered alcohol, to be perfectly honest, but I'm pretty sure you could order it if you wanted to. You know, it's funny because I remember I went to a bar in California. Oh, the tears. Oh, that was actually quite realistic. I mean, this is the first time in any of these movies where we actually saw a doll having tears in their eyes, which is actually also something new. Pay no attention to little Miss Potty Mouth. She's hormonal. And that's the thing. In Glenda, you actually see hormone injections being done. This is 1953. You know, like I said, this was at a time where, you know, we had pretty much the very first public case of, you know, a woman becoming a man through a sex change operation, which was Christine Jorgensen. And Ed Wood Jr. sort of made it as a tribute to her, even though it was not a biography based on Christine Jorgensen's life. But yeah, I mean, you know, there's so much stuff in Glenda that has to be seen to be believed. I mean, you know, just for Bela Lugosi, you know, look at, you know, his reactions as he looks at this softcore bondage scene, which is in the middle of the movie for no reason whatsoever. You know, and you know, the lightning shots and him saying be there, you know, the dragon is at the front step eating your children, and all this crap that just makes no sense. And yet at the same time, it's now actually embraced as a surreal movie ahead of its time. And this film more or less validates that. Chucky, it's time. Oh, time to do the voodoo chant. Yeah, this is what we've been waiting for so long, for another voodoo chant, which is here again. I think pretty much in all the movies except for the remake. We don't have time for this shit. We have a son and a daughter, Glenn and Glenda. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. But here's the thing. One more thing I wanted to put out there for the horror community, with all due love and respect. When you watch these films in order, from the first film, from 1988 to the last film, the remake, when you watch it all as a marathon, the thing about Seed of Chucky, it's like a nice little comedy excursion because, Curse of Chucky, which we're going to watch here in just a few minutes, it goes completely back to the franchise's roots. It goes all the way back to the 1988 original and proceeds to go back to full-blown horror. I mean, we'll see in a minute because Curse of Chucky doesn't have a lot of gags or jokes because in that movie it's mostly about the horror, like it was with the first three Child's Play movies. I mean, Bride of Chucky is actually an excellent medley of both the horror and the comedy, and thus it satisfied a lot of horror films on that level, and for good reason. I mean, aside from being a tribute to the Bride of Frankenstein, whereas this is a tribute to Ed Wood's Glen or Glenda. And I don't want to be your chauffeur. As a doll, I'm fucking infamous. I'm one of the most notorious slashers in history. Yeah, and you have a son that is now your daughter. And you're dealing with offspring that doesn't want you to kill anymore. Why not retire? Haven't you killed enough people, Chucky? I mean, haven't you killed enough people at this point? So, but look, the bottom line is, like with Curse of Chucky and Cult of Chucky, and then finally with the remake, look, Chucky's going to go back to murdering people, and he becomes scary once again, which I'm so happy about. Actually, no, I'm serious. The next film, Curse of Chucky, I'm just going to say it right now. It's the film that made me a fan of the franchise. It wasn't Seed. As much as I like and respect and enjoy Seed of Chucky, Curse of Chucky is the movie that made me a fan. And like I said, we'll watch and talk about it in a minute. Nobody leaves me. Oh no. Whoa! That knife went pretty quickly into that dude's chest. Really, really quickly. Really quickly. And here again, this movie does actually have plenty of gore. It has enough gore and enough kills that I think would satisfy slasher devotees. I'm pretty sure of that. But here again, you have to watch it as a comedy and not a horror. A comedy slasher, if you will. And yes, they do exist. Oh, God, that is so gruesome. Oh, man. Yeah, you know what? I'll be perfectly honest. I completely forgot about some of the makeup in this movie regarding the kills, like with John Waters earlier, and then with him. Oh, yeah. I mean, this movie does have its fair share of gore, which is actually very surprising. Very surprising. Now, once again, even though this is set in Los Angeles and Hollywood, the entirety of the film was actually filmed in Romania. And to be perfectly honest, I think they pull it off. I think they pull off making this look like Hollywood and accepting it as Hollywood, even though this was shot entirely in Romania. And like I said, Seed of Chucky, when it finally came out in theaters in 2004, it was made for $12 million and it made $24 million. So like Bride of Chucky, it grossed approximately twice as much as it was given. So, in my opinion, I consider both these films successes, even though a lot of people would say, well, Seed of Chucky, the critics hated it. They trashed and everything. Not necessarily. Child's Play 3 has actually a lower critical reception than Seed of Chucky, believe it or not. Because guess what? Critics actually recognized what Don Mancini was doing here. They actually understood what he was homaging, what he was drawing from with all his inspirations. And here again, this was his directorial debut, and I applaud him for taking the series in a completely different direction that had ever been seen before in the series. I mean, it does amp up the comedy to 11, but here again, it also has its fair share of kills, its fair share of gore, and its fair share of one-liners. So as far as I'm concerned, this is 100% a Chucky movie, just with a different aesthetic and a much different tone. And here again, I can understand why that tone may have rubbed people the wrong way, or people just found it they just didn't understand it and they just dismissed it. Here again, I do kind of understand that, but I'm telling you, give it a chance. Give it a chance sometime, because I do think that there is more in this film that can be okay. This is obviously a reference to The Shining. Now, I'm going to say something real quick, because as a lot of my buddies online are aware of on Twitter and Region Free, I am not a fan of The Shining. Now, before you dislike the stream and before you all leave, or curse at me or whatever, just hear me out for 30 seconds. Hear me out for 30 seconds, okay? I am not a fan of The Shining because when I saw it at 12 years old, I did not find any of it scary. None of it. I actually laughed at it when I wasn't bored, which is just the truth. I mean, hell, when I saw the dolls for the first time and they were asking the kid to play with them, I would have played with them. As a kid, I thought they were actually quite cute. Okay, seriously. Now, look, performances aside, Jack Nicholson, sure, he's great. And sure, Kubrick, his style is evident, and it's wonderful to behold in many, many moments. But I find it too long. I find it unscary. And in many ways, I find it curiously boring. I mean, especially even for a Kubrick movie. I mean, there's too much in that film which I don't really understand. And one of them, which is what Seed of Chucky just did a homage for, is the moment where he breaks through the door with the axe and says, "Here's Johnny." Now, can I just say, for the record, that moment bothers me because, first of all, what does Johnny Carson have to do with The Shining? To me, it is a very, very pointless reference. Okay, I mean, sure, at the time in 1980, everybody knew who Johnny Carson was. But to be perfectly honest, millennials don't know who Johnny Carson is. And like I said, he was a late night TV host. I don't understand what the point was of Jack Nicholson saying, "Here's Johnny," when, especially now, the reference makes zero fucking sense. That's just me. That is just me. Please don't hate me for that. But here again, that's how I felt when I first saw the movie too. Of course, I knew who Johnny Carson was, and I immediately wondered, so what's the point? What's the point of the reference? I mean, because I can see people looking at The Shining now, not knowing who Johnny Carson is, and asking, "Well, who the fuck is Johnny?" I mean, look, I can see that reaction. I can completely see that reaction. But look, you got to, for those who love The Shining, bless your hearts. And look, you got to give Don Mancini credit because he included a Shining reference in a movie which also had references to Bound and Glenda. That's a hell of a combination, folks. That is a hell of a combination right there. Curse is arguably the best direct-to-disc big horror franchise sequel out there. 100% agree, and we will talk about the direct-to-video aspect of it when we start the movie. Oh God, the tears are coming again. They're coming again. And yes, I'm glad Cable Channel agrees as well. Here again, Curse of Chucky was the movie that made me a fan of Chucky and this entire franchise. And I can't wait to talk about it. Now, we're pretty much reaching the end of Seed of Chucky. Let me just do a timestamp here real quick. Approximately 1 hour and 17 minutes in, 1:17. So we have approximately 10 minutes left to go as we reach the final stretch here, the denouement, as it will, which is 5 years later. Yeah, I'll be perfectly honest with all of you. I'm so happy I did this commentary. I'm so happy I was able to actually finally let out my appreciation and my a special appreciation, but nonetheless, very, very much when it comes to Seed of Chucky, and particularly how it fits into the franchise, which, you could call it like the odd man or the odd doll out. Let's put it this way. Yes, it's the odd doll out of the entire franchise, but I love it for just that reason. And look, just seeing Jennifer Tilly with the Tiffany doll, that's just, I want a massive picture on my wall of Jennifer Tilly holding the Tiffany doll. Okay, I mean, look, I love it. I absolutely love it. And here again, Seed of Chucky, it has its problems, it has its flaws. I mean, it's aside from the fact why I can see it didn't appeal to the traditional horror fan or even the traditional Chucky fan. Here again, I completely see and understand and empathize. Um, but here again, it's really just a collection of jokes. At the end of the day, it's just a massive black comedy with a bunch of Hollywood in jokes, which is fine. Um, but here again, it doesn't come off as a traditional horror sequel, and thus you know, it it has its issues. It has its issues. Not that the comedy is not going to work with everybody. Comedy, like horror, is very, very subjective. And yes, here we God bless the bloody tears. Yes. Yeah. Now that Tiffany doll looks more like the Tiffany doll from Bride of Chucky, to be perfectly honest. Like I said, there are subtle differences. There are subtle differences in the designs of all these dolls. Oh yes, Dan. Did you watch the TV series yet, Stone? You know what? I have been so busy that I haven't been able to check out the series. I've been too busy. Now I am taking next week off, so for pretty much the entire week, and I think I will finally catch up with Chucky then before I do the commentaries for Cult of Chucky, and then finally the Child's Play remake from 2019, which I'm actually really looking forward to, even though I was rather disappointed the first time I saw it. I'm actually really, really looking forward to watching the Child's Play remake again. Yep. And finally, we're going to end on Seed of Chucky on this very unusual note. At a children's birthday party, I know I'm not alone. I'm not a freak. Here again, like Bride of Chucky, this ending it doesn't really work for me. I mean, I like so much about this movie, and yet I do think that at the end it kind of, this is not, to me, this is not necessarily an ideal ending, but look, it ends the movie and provides proper closure as we are about to go back to the series roots with Curse of Chucky. Oh, the big blue box. Now, what could be in the big blue box? Oh, a Chucky arm. Oh, no. So, yeah, here we go. Back to the urination and everything. I mean, yeah. But look, that was great. That was actually great. And we end on Chucky's laugh. So, that is the much derided Seed of Chucky, which here again, I'll say it just one more time. If you saw this back in the mid 2000s and dismissed it, give it another chance. Seriously, give it another chance, especially if you're going to watch these movies in a marathon. Because I do honestly think that once you understand what Don Mancini was doing, what you understand what he was homaging and referencing, I think that there will be a lot more appreciation and, dare I say it, love for Seed of Chucky. And hey, you got to give any movie. Okay, one more connection I wanted to mention. A couple more things I wanted to mention. Child's Play 3 had the tagline of "Look Who's Stalking," which was a reference to "Look Who's Talking," the "Look Who's Talking" movies at the time, which featured a baby being voiced by Bruce Willis, of all people. In 1989, it was the number 4 worldwide box office hit that year, and it catapulted John Travolta back to superstardom. A lot of people think it was Pulp Fiction. I am still convinced it was Look Who's Talking. Just saying. But two more things I wanted to mention, which I didn't mention on the Bride of Chucky commentary, is that in 1990, oh crap, in 1999, I'll just mention one first. Albert Brooks, the comedian, he wrote and directed a movie called The Muse, which was about a Hollywood screenwriter suffering from writer's block, and it had a lot of inside jokes about Hollywood and the industry. I mean, it has cameos from Martin Scorsese of all people. Okay, so obviously there were a lot of people that loved that script. There is a scene that is so funny if you're a Chucky fan. Albert Brooks actually meets Jennifer Tilly in a restaurant. And here again, this was right after Bride of Chucky came out. And it was right after Bride of Chucky came out, and in comes Lorenzo Lamas, the martial arts guy. And in that scene, okay, Brittany was played by another actress, Nadia Dina Araquat. It wasn't actually Britney Spears, but close enough. But anyway, in the movie The Muse, written and directed by Albert Brooks, there's a scene where he's in a restaurant with Jennifer Tilly, and she actually says about Lorenzo Lamas, "Isn't he a doll?" And Albert Brooks just smiles and says, "Oh, sure, he's a regular little Chucky." Which, not a lot of people saw The Muse. It had Sharon Stone and Andy McDowell and Jeff Bridges, Martin Scorsese in a cameo. I mean, so many cameos. Jennifer Tilly, Scorsese, a lot of people appeared in The Muse, and nobody saw it. But it had this brilliant Chucky reference, And I'm trying to think. There was another 1998 film I was going to mention, which had another. That's right. The other Chucky reference I was going to mention, because after Bride of Chucky, Chucky became, hot again, essentially. In the spoof, Jane Austen's Mafia. Now, on the cover, it's just Mafia, but the original title was Jane Austen's Mafia, which was a spoof of The Godfather, directed by the same people that did the Hot Shots movies. So anyway, in this spoof of The Godfather himself, played by Lloyd Bridges, it reenacts the same scene at the end of The Godfather where he's with the kid in the garden and everything, and he actually calls the kid Chucky. And wouldn't you know, they actually cast a redheaded child who looked almost exactly like a live action version of Chucky, and who ended up killing the Godfather, Lloyd Bridges, and collecting money. So yeah, Jane Austen's Mafia and The Muse, which were two films which failed at the box office. They had these two brilliant Chucky references right after Bride of Chucky made a significant impact with not only with the box office, but with the culture. Chucky was back in the mainstream after Child's Play 3 had, died a rather sad death back in 1991. And we thought we were never going to see Chucky again. But yeah, so there you go. That was, as a matter of fact, that was Seed of Chucky. Second unit, Romania. Like I said, this film was made entirely in Romania, and yet I completely bought the setting in Hollywood. I completely bought it. What's amazing is that we've jumped in so many different places during the series. I mean, we started out in Chicago, and then we were in Chicago for Child's Play 2. Child's Play 3, we were in a completely different state for the Kent Military Academy. I forget exactly where it was. And Bride of Chucky, here again, we were in a completely different part of the country. So we're now jumping all over the map with this series, which here again, I think is another cool thing about it. So as we see the Rogue Pictures logo one last time, officially closing the movies, Chucky says, "I can't think of a thing to say. Fuck it." And what I've noticed after seeing these movies multiple times, that Chucky always tends to say something at the very, very end of the movie. And that's a testament to Brad Dourif and how much I love his voice over of this character. But anyway, here again, thank you everybody for watching. And I'm about to put on Curse of Chucky. Please give me 5 minutes as I get another Yingling. And I will go ahead and put in Curse of Chucky, and we will play in approximately 5 minutes. So all I ask is that you be patient with me for the next 5 minutes as I set this up and get another beer, and we'll get going here. So I promise I'll be right back. Thank you very much, everybody. Okay, I'm setting up Curse of Chucky right now. Going to pause at 0000, the very beginning of the Universal logo. And just to let everybody know right now, I am watching the Blu-ray, and I am going to be watching the unrated version. Not the rated version, but the unrated version on the Blu-ray. So I'm not sure how you all are going to watch this. I mean, but if you're going to be streaming it or whatever, just see if you can get the unrated version, because that's what I'm going to be doing the commentary on. Because on the Blu-ray, it actually gives you a choice. Okay. I think Cult of Chucky has a unrated version as well. I could be wrong, but I think these two movies are the only ones with alternate versions. Okay, I'm officially paused at the start of the Universal logo for Curse of Chucky. I will give everybody just a couple minutes to sync up their versions, whether you're streaming it or watching it on Blu-ray or whatever the case may be. So we are going to be just about starting Curse of Chucky here in just 2 minutes. I'll give you guys 2 minutes. I open up another beer here. I love my Yingling. Ah. Yes. All right. And before I press play on Curse of Chucky, I'll give a quick intro real quick. Here again, just about 60 more seconds for everybody to sync up their copies. So Curse of Chucky came about 9 years after Seed. That's the interesting thing about this series is that aside from the 8-month window between Child's Play 2 and 3, a lot of these sequels took many, many years to come to fruition. Bride of Chucky took 6 years, or 7 years, actually. Seed of Chucky came about after 6 years. And then finally, Curse took about 9 years. It took approximately 9 years. And even though this film is distributed by Universal, it's distributed by a direct-to-video, or actually, in this case, direct-to-DVD is more appropriate. This was not given a theatrical release, although I think it might have gotten maybe a one-day release in select theaters. I could be wrong on that, but for the most part, this is a direct DVD movie. A lot of critics were complaining because this actually got the best reviews the series had ever seen since the original movie from 1988, which is both surprising and welcome. You know, considering the fact, I mean, you know, this had like an 85% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes when it came out. It got some serious notice. And I think a lot of people found it a mystery as to why Universal opted to go this direct-to-DVD distribution route rather than give this film a theatrical release. And I think it absolutely deserved a theatrical release in every way, shape, or form. Like I said, Curse of Chucky was, in fact, the movie that made me a certified Chucky fan. And on top of all that, when I originally saw this in 2013, I never would have thought in my wildest dreams that I would eventually meet both lead actresses. I actually met both of the lead actresses of Curse of Chucky at the same convention, but in 2 different years. And I will talk about them, obviously, when I get into this movie. But yeah, this was released by Universal 1440 Entertainment. And like I said, it's basically a DVD distribution arm for the studio. And they decided, of course, the Universal House of Horrors tour and everything. Chucky has been an attraction at that for ever since 2013 when Curse of Chucky came out. So yes, Dan, it was a huge hit on disc, and they regretted not going theatrical. I absolutely agree, and also yeah, absolutely. I can definitely see why Universal would have regretted after the fact that they didn't go theatrical. But then again, they could have went theatrical with Cult, and they didn't do that either. So, and here again, I mean, I'm sure that they were ambivalent after Seed of Chucky um, to give Don Mancini a theatrical release, because that's the sad thing. Seed of Chucky was the only one that Don Mancini did that got a theatrical release. The other two films were direct to DVD. So, but at any rate, tell you what, I will go ahead and start the movie without further ado. So hopefully everybody's got their copies synced up. Once again, this is going to be the unrated version. The unrated version that we're going to do a commentary for, not the R-rated version. So I'm at the start of the Universal logo. I'll count down from 3. I hope everyone in the chat is ready to go. And once again, I thank you all for coming, and we will go ahead and start on 3, 2, 1, and play. And here again, this is the Universal logo that's still being used today. This logo was introduced in 1998, if I'm not mistaken, right when Bride of Chucky came out, because the logo that they introduced for Child's Play 2, they only had that for 7 years, and it was very similar to this one, but this one is a lot more fancier and everything. So yeah, Universal 1440 Entertainment, not Universal Pictures. There is a distinction there. And we see now this logo for this van was seen in Seed of Chucky in the previous movie. So anybody that's seen Seed of Chucky should have recognized that a Don Mancini film. So he's back writing and directing, being the sole owner of the franchise now, well, no, that's actually not correct, because of course Child's Play was remade, and we'll talk about that next Saturday night. But here we have the introduction of the very talented and the very, very beautiful Fiona Dourif, who is, of course, Brad's daughter. And as you can see, she's paralyzed in a wheelchair. And I love the artwork for Curse of Chucky, which had the quote unquote new and improved Chucky doll. And you see somebody in a wheelchair holding the doll, but you only see half of the face. Well, that of course is of course Fiona Dourif. And I met her at the New Jersey Horror Con 2 years ago. Very, very lovely lady. And I told her, hey, this is the movie that made me a fan of the Chucky franchise. And I think she was very flattered about that. I mean, I'm not going to lie. And I didn't tell her this in person when I met her. But when I first saw this movie in 2013, I actually developed a serious crush on her. Like, she may not be, she may not be Jennifer Tilly, but at the same time, I mean, beauty being in the eye of the beholder, there's something about her that I find so radiant. And what I also love about her casting in this movie, which I don't believe was due to, vanity or nepotism or anything like that, of course, because she's Brad's daughter. But no, she actually is really good. And I think that here again, I think that her casting in this isn't distracting, and I think it's actually quite ideal. I mean, she brings this character to life. Very sympathetic, very lovely, very funny. And just, I mean, she is one of the main drawing cards of this movie, as well as Cult of Chucky, which we will get to next week when we talk about that with the Child's Play remake. But I really, really, really adore Fiona Dourif in this movie. And I think that she I think that she was absolutely up to the challenge of playing somebody with a disability, and you know, unfortunately in a wheelchair for probably the rest of her life. Um, but as I said, I mean, meeting her in person was a joy, and and every time I see her in this movie, I mean, I fall in love with her all over again. To be perfectly honest, I think she's wonderful in this movie, and of course, okay, so here is the quote unquote um, new Chucky doll, and as you can see, there are cosmetic differences once again. However, looks being deceiving. Looks being deceiving. I mean, I'm sure a lot of Chucky fans were very surprised as this movie played out, because, of course, Chucky does change his look later in the movie, and I think in gloriously identifiable ways, as we will see when it comes around. Yeah, Fiona is really good in Dirk Gently. Oh, I've never Dirk Gently. I got to look that up real quick. Forgive me. Just give me one moment here. Oh, it's a television series. British comic science fiction detective based on the novel Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency by Douglas Adams. Oh, okay. Okay, so it's from the same guy that was responsible for Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Hey, I'll definitely take that recommendation. I mean, I'm such a Fiona fan. I mean, that's the funny thing is that I am such a Fiona fan that I should have seen more stuff of her that she's been in at this point in time. Um, and of course, we just saw a light come up and it illuminates Fiona right here and everything. But to be perfectly honest, I probably, in the 9 years or the 8 years since this movie came out, I should have seen more stuff with Fiona in it. And I will definitely take that recommendation for Dirk Gently. Thank you so much, Dan. Yeah, BBC show with Elijah Wood. Oh, okay. And it's funny is that this came out the same year as the remake of Maniac, starring Elijah Wood. And even though I didn't care for that as a movie and as a remake, but I do applaud Elijah Wood for taking on that role, which of course was brought to life by Joe Spinell in the original from 1980. It's a very, very, both films are very hard to watch, very, very disturbing. But they also have their fans, especially in the horror film community. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I became a certified Fiona fan because of this movie, and it just made me love the Doris family even more. And that's the thing. By this time, the Child's Play franchise had become a family affair in many, many ways. I mean, Brad, of course, is once again giving the voice of Chucky, but we don't hear him for a while. I mean, Don Mancini really takes his time with Curse of Chucky to build up the horror and build up the suspense. And, oh man, yeah, this freak out by Fiona is wonderful, very, very realistic and very heartbreaking. I mean, when I saw her for the first time and having this reaction to her mother's death, I mean, powerful. I mean, I was blown away, and I think it was literally at that point where I fell in love with her as an actress. Absolutely. And here we have the title Curse of Chucky right next to the Chucky doll, very, very appropriately. Um, and we are about to start this movie. There's Fiona Dorff's credit, and Danielle Basutti. We'll meet her in a few minutes. I've also met her in person. Also, lovely, lovely lady to meet. Absolutely. Um, Ironically enough, the rest of the cast I honestly never heard of. I mean, introducing Summer Howell, she of course plays the little girl in this movie. A Martinez, I've seen his name in several other projects, and of course Brad Dourif as the voice of Chucky. And as you can see, uh, he's given almost a completely different makeover here. I mean, like in the beginning of Child's Play 2 and 3, he looks completely brand new. But here again, looks can be deceiving. and we will see later animatronic characters by Tony Gardner. Yes, I believe that Seed of Chucky was the first one that he worked on, and here again, by this time, I think they really perfected the animatronics because, especially 9 years after Seed of Chucky, seriously, the effects work in this movie is so impressive. I mean, very, very impressive. Yeah, I love how Don Mancini lingers on the doll as we go in and start the movie here with the rest of the credits. Now, this house, very lovely country home, um, where Chucky is going to start his reign of terror here pretty soon. But of course, Fiona's mother has just passed away. And, it's really sad because, she was actually having a rather good day as like the person that was delivering Chucky was actually a cute guy that she was flirting with, and she believes that he was flirting with her. Very nice little interaction in the beginning. And you think, oh man, you could obviously tell that she wants so badly to be, well, maybe not so badly, but she does want to have a relationship with somebody. She wants to be happier and everything. Oh man, this is devastating. See, that's the thing, is that I love the fact that after Seed of Chucky, after all that black comedy and all that weirdness that Don Mancini decided to incorporate here, he really goes for emotion. He really goes not only back to horror, but he goes for genuine emotion, especially in these opening scenes. I think he succeeds. I think he does absolutely succeed. Because here again, even if you didn't know that Fiona was Brad's daughter, I think that anybody would have been blown away by her performance just in these opening 10 minutes. And that's what I'm saying, is that I immediately crushed on her after these first 10 minutes of the movie. Like, wow. This woman is awesome. Regardless of the last name, she is really, really good in this movie. It's a great showcase for her. Actually, I would even make the argument it's more of a showcase for her as an actress than it is for Brad, because here again, we don't even hear Brad for about half the movie, which, I could see that being, to some Chucky fans, a little bit of a detriment, but at the same time, I love it. I love the fact that we build and build and build. And that's what Don Mancini, he's very patient. He's very patient with this entry. I think he wanted to get, I think he was very careful to get the horror right. And he wanted to, here again, harken back to the 1988 original without replicating it, without, adding to it without repeating it. Let's put it that way. Because that first film still remains a landmark on its own. Maybe not my favorite in the franchise, but here again, I love how this movie has direct connections to the 1988 original. And I think a lot of Chucky fans appreciated that, especially after the very black comedy that was inherent in Seed. Because, here again, we have no more Glenn, no more Glenda. And actually, we don't even have Tiffany in this movie. I don't think that she appears at the very end, but we see Jennifer Tilly come at the very end. I apologize if you haven't seen this, but then again, I love it in commentaries where people actually question, like, should we give away spoilers? Well, it's a general rule of thumb that you should watch the movie before you listen to the commentary. But, some people don't care about that, so whatever. But yeah, Jennifer Tilly does appear in this movie at the very, very end as almost like a gift to the audience, because, it's like, but oddly enough, this is the odd thing about Jennifer Tilly's appearance, is that I didn't really miss her in this movie. Granted, when the movie first started, I was wondering, well, where's Jennifer Tilly? And it's like, oh, no. This is not a movie about Jennifer Tilly or her character or about Tiffany, or no, this is about, this has all new characters, an entirely new story, but one that has very strong, very solid connections to the original 1988 film. Now, as I said earlier, is that I've been lucky enough to meet both of the lead actresses for Curse of Chucky, and of course, not only did I meet Fiona Dourif, but I also met Danielle Basutti, who plays the role of Barbara, which we just see her. We're going to go back to her in a minute, but I met her at the New Jersey Horror Con only 2 months ago, and she was very grateful that I was very grateful that she signed my copy of my Chucky Blu-ray set. As you can see, she plays the character of Barb, second billing to Fiona Dorff in this movie. And if I'm not mistaken, she also signed the disc, but of course that's in the Blu-ray player right now. But oh, absolutely lovely to meet. Absolutely lovely to meet. And here's a weird. Let me tell you the story of me meeting Daniel Basutti as these scenes play out. So, of course, like I said, I've said before, stating Curse of Chucky was the film which made me fall in love with the franchise as a whole. Even though I loved Bride of Chucky, I mean, I had so much fun watching Bride when I saw it in the theaters, and yet it didn't quite make me a fan of the franchise. It didn't make me go ahead and return and watch the three previous films again. I just saw Bride of Chucky. I really enjoyed it. I loved the cast. I loved the humor. I loved the homage to Bride of Frankenstein. Loved pretty much everything about it except for the final 15 minutes where I felt that it becomes a bit sluggish. But up until then, I love Bride of Chucky. But here's the thing. It didn't necessarily make me a fan of the franchise. Seed of Chucky, when I first saw it, I found it, okay. But here again, I was also kind of one of those ones that was kind of baffled by it until I realized what Don Mancini was doing with it. Okay, great Chucky reaction right here. I love this. Love this. I mean, I think I actually jumped. I think I actually jumped the first time I saw this movie when Chucky actually bolts his hand out. And of course, in the very next scene, she's holding him. And as you can see, the expression, and she doesn't realize this, by the way. She doesn't realize that the Chucky expression has changed. But here again, she's already had a conversation with her. A conversation with Chucky. So, but from the audience perspective, like, oh no. See, and that's when we realize this is going to go in a serious direction. A very, very serious, horrific direction. Now, as I said before, this is Daniel Basutti on screen as Barb, who tries to convince Fiona's character that she should consider, either selling the house or, forgive me, please forgive me for 1 second. I need to put on the subtitles here. Where she's trying to convince Fiona's character to consider other options. I mean, especially after her mother just passed, although we know that Chucky was responsible. We have a live-in nanny. Well, actually, that's not working out. And there is a twist in this movie. There is a twist that will come with her character and the live-in nanny, which I find very amusing. Which, hey, I mean, maybe Don Mancini was thought of Bound when he wrote that. I don't know. But here again, Daniel Basutti, I mean, I met her at the New Jersey Horror Con only a month ago. Very lovely. And I think she was extremely flattered when I told her that Curse of Chucky was the film that made me a true certified fan of the franchise. But here's the interesting thing. While she was signing Curse of Chucky, I wanted to ask her another question. And that question actually had nothing to do with Chucky. And the rule I have when it comes to meeting these celebrities at conventions is that I only want to ask them one question and one question only. Of course, that's due to lines. I don't want to take up all their time, that kind of thing. So my lady friend is a massive fan of The O.C., which is a teen soap opera that came out in the mid-2000s. Another great reaction from Chucky. Chucky has so many great reactions in this movie. I mean, they're all brilliant. I love them. But at any rate, my lady friend is a massive fan of The O.C., so much that she actually grew up only a stone's throw away from Orange County, where it was obviously set. Well, just this year, I had actually watched the entire run of The O.C. with her. And I didn't necessarily become a fan of the show, but I appreciated it. I mean, I actually appreciated it for what it was, which was a teen soap opera. And evidently it was a hit back in the day. So it was a hit for Fox back in the day. Daniel Basutti appeared in approximately 5 episodes in the first 2 seasons. And she was known as a Noopsie because she came from nearby, her character came from nearby Newport Beach. She was only in 5 episodes. The first 4 episodes, she had very little, to do. She maybe had one line at a party if she was lucky. Well, in the 5th episode from the 2nd season, which is called The Risky Business, it was basically a large homage to the Risky Business movie from 1983 starring Tom Cruise. And she plays a Noopsie that was doing an auction, and she was recruiting the main characters to help her out. And wouldn't you know it, at that auction, she had the glass egg from Risky Business, which they were planning to sell. And I told her, were you aware that Rachel Bilson and Melinda Clark, who were both on the show? Okay, just real quick. Let me pause my story just real quick. When I first saw this and I realized that Chucky was putting rat poison in one of these dishes, and that, he was only able to put it in one dish, and I thought, this is a brilliant setup. Very, very intense setup for what's going to come. Because obviously the obvious question is like, oh my God, who is going to get the bowl with the rat poison in it? And you can obviously tell, it sort of looks like Parmesan cheese, little, the flakes look like Parmesan cheese. And I love what Don Mancini does with the camera. We close in on the bowl. We obviously that there's rat poison in there, but then he does this very disorienting series of shots where we go in a circular fashion around the table to disorient the audience, obviously, wondering, oh my God, who's got the bowl? Who's got the bowl with rat poison in it? And here again, I applaud Don Mancini for this entire sequence. If Chucky was going to make a horror comeback, I think this is as ideal as it gets. This is how you bring a horror icon back to its roots. This is how you do it. I love the spiral with the camera. Here again, very disorienting for the viewer, but with a purpose. Now, going back to my story, which I'm about to wrap up, when I met Daniel Basutti at the New Jersey Horror Con just a month ago, I asked her, did you know that Rachel Bilson and Melinda Clark, who were in the OC, and horror fans should know Melinda Clark from Return of the Living Dead 3, which I also watched very, very recently, and I loved, where she had like 500 piercings on her body. As a zombie, where she plays a zombie girl. Brilliant. And I asked her, did you know that they're doing a podcast dedicated to every single episode of the OC? And it's still going on. I think they're almost done with the first season. I have listened to the podcast sometimes, but I haven't had time to listen to all the episodes. So I asked her, you should ask them to be a guest star on the Risky Business episode, because here again, out of the 5 episodes that Daniel did, that was the only one where she was giving more than one line of dialogue. She actually had close-ups. And she was like looking at me like, oh my God. This guy's a Chucky fan, but he's talking about the OC of all things. It was, the look on her face was epic. I wish I could describe it, but it was like, oh my God, I'm actually talking to a massive Chucky fan, but he wants to talk to me about the OC. And so I said to her, because they bring a guest star on every single episode of the podcast, you should do the Risky Business episode. And I told her, look, would you be willing to reach out to Rachel Bilson and Melinda Clark on Instagram or whatnot, which I'm sure she could reach out to them in any way, and say, look, I would love to be the guest star on the Risky Business episode. So fingers crossed. It hasn't happened yet, but I am hoping to see her appear on the Risky Business episode. And like I said, I did this all for my lady friend, who is a massive OC fan. It's her favorite movie of all time. So I decided to dedicate my one question to Daniel Basutti for the OC and my lady friend instead of just asking her, a Chucky question, which, no, of course, being a horror convention, she's probably answering Chucky questions all day. And I think she found it a great surprise and maybe even a relief that somebody wanted to talk about something other than Chucky, especially when it's a TV series that's nearly, 20 years old. And here again, her part in the series was very, very minor. 5 episodes, and it was only in the last episode called The Risky Business with the glass egg from the movie, where she actually had several scenes, additional dialogue, close-ups. I mean, her character actually blossomed, and then she never appeared on the show ever again. And here again, lovely, lovely, lovely lady to meet. And I'm actually very glad that she signed my Chucky set. Very glad. But here again, back to this very suspenseful sequence where here again, Don Mancini, great camera angles, very disorienting effect, wondering who is going to get the rat poison, who is eating the rat poison. Very, very, very good question. And admittedly, when I first saw Curse of Chucky, I was wondering the same thing. And then, because one character was like, oh, wait a minute, is there meat in this? And then the little girl thought it tasted funny. And then finally we get to the preacher. We see a drop of sweat pouring down his forehead. Very suspenseful stuff. And realize, oh, shit. He ate the rat poison. He's going to be the first one to die. Well, technically, he's the second victim of Chucky in this movie. But, yeah, he's going to be the one that bites the dust after eating this chili with rat poison in it. Here again, I adore this entire sequence. And here again, I have to applaud Dan Mancini, considering the fact that this is a completely different direction and tone than he took with his directorial debut with Seed of Chucky 9 years before. Seeing this go a complete 180 was awesome. It was awesome. It completely subverted my expectations, and made me realize Chucky is back. And man, is he a bad motherfucker in this movie. He is a bad motherfucker. He is the Chucky that we know and love from the original Child's Play trilogy. Without Tiffany, without any of the black comedy, this is Chucky from the original 1988 film, essentially in spirit. And it's not like this film ignores the other sequels. In fact, I know for a fact that it doesn't. But, here again, Don Mancini made a very concentrated effort with Curse of Chucky to bring it back to its roots 25 years ago in 1988 when the original Child's Play came out. Yeah, please excuse me as I... Oh. So yeah, here we get more, a great bloody death. Oh, this is great. I mean, he gets in this car crash, and as you can see, he does look more or less intact. He even looks like he's still alive. And then they, I think when I first saw this movie, I thought they were going to break out the jaws of life to get him out. Let's see if they. Okay, so no, they removed that. But then they realize, oh my God, his neck is completely, and the blood goes all in the camera. Oh, it's great. Oh, that's so good. That is so good. Here again, Seed of Chucky has had its fair share of gory deaths. But I think Curse of Chucky definitely goes further than that. And here again, I love this house, a very old-fashioned house out in the middle of the country. Again, a completely different setting and location than the other movies, which, like I said, it very much distinguishes this franchise. Think about it. Aside from going into space, does Jason ever leave Crystal Lake? Okay, fine. Aside from going to Manhattan and space, does he ever leave Crystal Lake? No. Does Freddy ever leave Elm Street? Well, to be honest, I haven't seen those films enough, so I'm sure he has. But look, the point I'm trying to make is that unlike those franchises, this franchise is all over the map. It's all over the map in terms of location, in terms of setting, and I love that. I love it, love it, love it. Don Mancini made a concentrated effort to not only go back to the original film's roots, but also to distinguish this film, like the other films, as completely different and yet part of the same continuity. And here, as you can see, Fiona Dorff and Daniel Basutti and her on-screen husband are watching this old home movie, and oh my God, could that be Charles Lee Ray? Now, when I showed this movie to my lady friend, the same one who's the OC fan, and I asked Daniel Basutti about the OC and her appearance on there. My lady friend did point out one crucial flaw. I mean, she loved this movie, but she did point out one crucial flaw, which I will bring up later in regards to Charles Lee Ray. Excuse me. What about Chucky? Now, of course, she can't find Chucky. Oh my God, Chucky could be anywhere in the house. Where the hell is he? And that's what I'm saying is that, the suspense, it locks, very early on, and it just builds and builds and builds. Oh my God, where's Chucky? I mean, and here again, everybody is still in the dark about who Chucky is, where the doll came from, sent the doll, what the doll's origins are. And even the little girl is completely convinced that this is a doll that can talk to her and is essentially, quote unquote, her friend till the end. And here again, it's another aspect that distinguishes this from the previous movies where Chucky befriended a little boy. Well, now he befriends a little girl. A little bit of a change there as well. Now, I gotta say, this actress right here, I know it's not Amanda Seyfried, but boy, does it look like her. I mean, she almost looks like a clone of Amanda Seyfried. It's almost it's uncanny. It's actually almost uncanny, to be perfectly honest. And she's about to meet a very, very, a very creative death here very, very soon. There's a Cabbage Patch doll, which I'm sure was a inspiration for Chucky in the first place, along with My Buddy from the 1980s. Those who grew up in the 80s will know exactly what I'm talking about. But and here we have other little dolls, other little marionettes. And I can see them being creepy in their own ways when utilized in other ways. Hey, that shot right there is almost directly influenced by that shot in the 1988 original when Dinah Manoff is in the Chicago apartment looking after Andy, and you see just a quick shot of Chucky running behind her, and she looks behind her and everything. Here with the added dimension of a mirror. Here again, not exactly the same, but I mean, for anybody who is a fan of this franchise, they should notice those connections immediately. And I mean immediately. And like I said, the suspense in this film is at an extremely high pitch. Mancini holds it to the very, very end. And that's the thing. Another reason why I love this movie so much is that this is actually one of my favorite endings of the franchise. In fact, I think it's even the best ending since Child's Play 2. Because the endings to Bride and Seed, even though I like those movies, the endings were probably my least favorite aspects of those movies. Here, I think that Don Mancini really, really nailed the ending. Now, just to let everybody know in the chat real quick, give a timestamp real quick. We are approximately 33 minutes in. So anybody that wants to join in, go jump to the 33-minute mark right now as the live-in Danny notices that a knife is missing. Need a hand? I need a fucking search party. And here again, great humor, great sense of humor. And oh, this is a bit of a twist. Well, and here's the thing. Of course, Don Mancini is gay himself. So this is really not much of a surprise. But at the same time, why am I thinking of Bound again when I see this twist? I mean, I'm just thinking of Bound again with Jennifer Tilly. I mean, no graphic sex scene this time. Don Mancini didn't go that far, but I mean, here again, it's just a nice little small interesting twist where Daniel Basuti's character Barbara is actually having an affair with the live-in nanny. So when she said that's not working out too well, I think she was more referring to her husband, who is, of course, now fallen asleep in this chair watching that home movie. And as Fiona's character is discovered, Chucky has come out of nowhere and is now sitting beside him. Now I'm sure Charles Lee Ray, the serial killer who, of course, is possessing Chucky. I mean, always when I see him in doll mode, in complete, good guy mode, as I like to refer to it, I'm always wondering what he's actually thinking. And the thing is that I mean, even when the characters are making jokes or if they're being funny, he never has a reaction. He never ever loses sight of the fact that he is still in the body of a doll. And he has to be completely still, be completely shut down, as if, ironically, as if he didn't have any batteries. This movie does not repeat that battery thing from the original. You can't repeat that. I mean, but at the same time, here again, I still want to know the answer to the question. Like, if he actually did get batteries, does that mean he would be quote unquote charged, and that he would find that painful or somewhat? I've always wondered that since the 1988 original. Always wondered that. Now, here we have the introduction to the, obviously, this house is an elevator for Fiona Dorff's character. And here again, another well-mounted, intense sequence where she's holding Chucky. She's going to give it to the little girl. And she goes up on the elevator. Here again, she's still completely into the dark as to Chucky and the good guy name, all that stuff. Still completely in the dark. And of course, I love the connection. Of course, that Brad Dourif playing the killer Charles Lee Ray possessing the doll, and that his own daughter is the one playing this role. The elevator stops, almost as if there's no more power. Meanwhile, Barbara is being distracted by the live-in nanny. The husband is downstairs, so obviously he probably can't hear her. So she's kind of stuck. She's actually kind of stuck in, she's holding this doll, which of course the audience knows is a serial killer, but she doesn't. Here again, very, very impressively mounted sequence. Just like with the chili bowls before, and wondering which one actually has the rat poison. I mean, here again, all these scenes I think work so well. I mean, Don Mancini really knew what he was doing, and he wanted to get this right. And I really do think he got this right. But yeah, I mean, when this movie came out in 2013, it was like it was like Chucky was back yet again. Bride of Chucky, he was given a bit more notice, and because of like the movies I mentioned before on the previous commentary, like The Muse and Jane Austen's Mafia, which were essentially celebrating Chucky's return. This almost came out of left field, as if, wait a minute, I thought Chucky died with the weird seed of Chucky, but now we have this, returning to horror roots type of sequel, which works so well. Dare I say it, I think a good word for this would be evocative. Because here again, I think that Mancini really subverted expectations with this entry, raised a few eyebrows, I mean, here again, when Chucky reaches out his hand in front of the little girl at the beginning, I legitimately jumped. I legitimately jumped when I first saw that. It's like, oh man. In the words of Roger Ebert, Chucky is one mean son of a bitch, and boy, in this film, he becomes one bad motherfucker. He definitely does. There you are, Chucky. Okay, now I would be a little creeped out that the doll could spin its head around and look at the girl and actually respond to the girl at that point. Because even you think, even by 2013 technology standards, really, this doll is able to spin its entire head around like Regan from The Exorcist and actually say something directly answering. At that point, I wouldn't blame Fiona for being a little bit suspicious here. Like, wait a minute. Dolls don't do that. I mean, and that's the thing is that Charles Lee Ray actually playing with his victims, which is always what makes the series so much fun. And like I said before, I feel extremely lucky that I actually met both of these women at the same convention, even if it was different years. You know, I met both of these women, and they were beautiful, they were wonderful, they were delightful. Um, and I was very glad to meet them. Very glad. Hmm. Excuse me. Excuse me. Okay. Anybody else out there in the chat has anything to say about Curse of Chucky? Let me know, because yeah. Oh. Obviously, even though her character can't necessarily feel that, it's still a bad cut. Still a really bad cut. And obviously that happened in the elevator, and of course her being paralyzed explains why she didn't feel it. Chucky, like I said, Chucky is a sneaky. Oh, and that's the thing, is that, I mean, I love the rejuvenation of the Chucky character in this movie, especially. And considering the fact that a lot of other classic horror franchises are, I don't know if struggling is the right word, but of course, Halloween Kills was very polarizing. There's the Friday the 13th lawsuit that's been taking forever. We haven't had a new Nightmare film since the remake, but the Chucky films are still going strong, and especially with the introduction of the series just very recently, I think that Chucky is now bigger than ever. I mean, you got to understand is that Bride of Chucky, and especially with Curse of Chucky, brought the character back to new audiences and a new wave of appreciation, a new garnering brand new fans. I mean, that's very impressive to do, especially six films into a franchise. That's, I think, um the ultimate joy and the ultimate goal of this movie, which I think it, absolutely achieves with spades. The performances are all good, particularly from Fiona and Danielle. Um, and like I said, I mean, virtually every line that Chucky has in this movie is memorable, especially the very first line, which we're going to hear very, very soon. Like I said, Don Mancini takes his time. He really builds this all up. I mean, like I said, I can feel that Chucky fans at the time in 2013 were like so anxious and so on the edge of their seat. They want to hear Chucky again. They want to hear him so badly. What is he going to say? What is he going to say? I mean, the tension is now almost through the roof, when we see Chucky in bed with this little girl, and you think, oh no, is he really going to harm this little girl? Well, probably. Probably. I mean, and that's the here again, I mean, the ultimate achievement of this movie is that it brings Chucky back to his roots in the most awesome and compelling way possible. Um, without, I mean, like I said, I mean, when this movie came out, I don't remember a lot of complaints from either horror fans, Chucky fans, or anybody. I mean, there was not a lot of complaints about this movie. I mean, Don Mancini achieved what he was going to achieve. And the fact that the studio regretted the decision, as Dan said in the chat, I mean, it really shows what he accomplished. And I applaud the man. And that's part of the reason why Chucky is my favorite franchise ever. Seriously, it is my hands down my favorite horror franchise. And this is the one that really, really did you say evidence depository? I mean, there was a mention of evidence depository on the Bride of Chucky commentary, and which I did with horror gal Susan, and I told her, you know what, that always makes me think of Young Frankenstein when Marty Feldman goes to get the abnormal brain at the and on the door it actually has a chute on the inside that says after 5 p.m. slip brains through slot in door. For some reason, it just makes me think of that. And oh boy, here we go. Here we go. I love this moment. This is a great, great moment where we finally see Chucky come to life. And as you can see, his expression has already changed. It's already changed. It's already changed. And you just, oh my God. I was on the edge of my seat at this moment when I first saw it because, like, oh my God, what is he going to say? He's laughing. He's laughing. He's just laughing. She is, shocked. And I'm scared, Chucky. And he says, you fucking should be. Yeah, damn right. Granted, that's Brad Dourif's voice. And he delivers that line with aplomb. But by God, that's really Don Mancini talking. That's Don Mancini telling the audience, you better be fucking scared because this Chucky don't fuck around. This Chucky, directly from the 88 original, here again, without necessarily ignoring the sequels, this is Chucky OG, and he is back. No fucking around. If you're not scared, you better fucking should be. Definitely. Now, I love this. I love how we see Chucky in the bed, but we don't see her. But here again, to these characters, we can see this. Heard them wrong. The connection was bad. And that's the thing that Fiona is already suspicious because she knows full well she did not have that deep cut when she first entered the elevator with Chucky. She knows full well, so she's already suspicious, and she is bound and determined. Forgive me, I mentioned bound again. She is determined to find out what this doll is, where the hell it came from. She is absolutely determined at this point, and that becomes essentially her goal. Now, here again, is it just me, or does this woman have the spitting image of Amanda Seyfried? I can't help it. I can't help it, but she does look exactly like a twin sister. Oh no, Chucky's up to something. Chucky, so we can obviously tell that this is going to be Chucky's next victim. And here we go. We have Fiona opening up her laptop to discover once and for all the origin of Chucky. Chucky doll evidence. Oh. A number of homicide reports, Kent Military Academy homicide, Chicago triple homicide. So here again, it doesn't ignore Child's Play 2 or 3. It doesn't ignore them at all. It fully acknowledges their existence. Unlike the new Halloween movies, which have these references, but at the same time turn around and say, "Oh no, those movies don't exist anymore." I much prefer this, where it doesn't ignore the sequels, it embraces them, and gives us plenty of stuff to give to the new characters to catch them up and bring them up to speed as to the origins of this doll. Hmm. Oh, forgive me. I was distracted by her in her underwear. I'm sorry. Well, look, I mean, look, come on, guys. I mean, I think anybody would be distracted at that moment. It's like great shot of Chucky going over the bed. I love it. I love it. And here again, Don Mancini taking his time, building, building, building. Charles Lee Ray dies in Chicago Toy Story. Here again, direct reference to the original. I mean, this is funny. I mean, this is really funny stuff. I mean, like her husband is sleeping right there, and here she is, like, getting all sensual on the laptop with the living nanny. I mean, it's pretty funny that she's like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna, I'm gonna go have some fun with her." And then we see Chucky pop his head out. Oh, did Barbara see Chucky? Here again, it was so quick. It was so quick. It was almost like, did she see the doll? Did she not see the doll? Oh my God. Oh my God. Here again, love the change of expression on Chucky's face as he is about to go in for his next kill here. Here again, very memorable death. Very memorable death. I mean, all the deaths in this movie are very, very memorable. And she looks over. Oh shit. Kicks the bucket of water. It goes into the socket and completely fries her to death with electricity. Yeah. Yes. Ugh. Love it. Now I'm trying to remember if Chucky has a one-liner here after he kills her. And I love the fact that she's still staring at him. Of course, you know, oh, still staring at this doll. And of course, Barbara's wondering, oh my God, what the fuck is going on now? It's like, and that's going to affect the electricity in the whole house. How very convenient for Chucky. How very, very convenient. Oh, that ring that forms around the left eye. Oh man. Talk about astonishing makeup. Oh man. Love it. Can't live with him, period. Yes. Yes. Like I said, practically every line that Chucky spouts in this movie is memorable or funny or both. Here again, I love virtually every second of this movie. I can't emphasize enough how much this movie made me a certified franchise fan, made me a certified fan of this franchise. I think this is actually Chucky at his most fully realized, at his most chilling potential. Let's put it that way. Everything that we know and love about Chucky, Don Mancini just cranks this character up to 11. And we relish, at least me, I relish every moment of it, every single moment of it. And here again, we have a couple of other little twists that will pop up throughout the movie. That's what I'm saying, is that another thing is that the plotting in this movie is very, very rich. I mean, here again, Don Mancini took 9 years. I mean, maybe not writing the film for 9 years, but man, he took his time. He wanted to get it right, and I think most of all because he wanted to please the suits at Universal, who of course, when they sent back the Son of Chucky script, which eventually became Seed of Chucky, they just gave him a note that said, "No, this is too gay." Well, but Universal obviously was the fact that they regretted not releasing this in theaters is the great irony. It's absolutely a massive, massive irony. course, the husband is like, well, you know what? I know what you've been doing. I know you've been licking that nanny's clam. Guess what? I'm going to end this right now and take our daughter away from you. Damn. Oh, man. You know what probably would have been an interesting twist too, for Barbara how to respond. It's like, well, maybe I can have her join in. Would have compelled him to keep the marriage intact? Maybe. You never know. You never know. Hmm. And I gotta confess, Fiona and Danielle, when I met them at the New Jersey Horror Con at um, both conventions, they looked exactly the same. It was almost as if they just walked right off the screen. No joke. They looked exactly the same. Hadn't it looked like they hadn't aged a day. Really. Okay, so now the characters are all dealing with a new problem. All the electricity is completely out, and at this point, there's only 4 people still alive in the house. Now, of course, Fiona knows exactly who Chucky is now, but it's like, oh my God, is Barbara going to actually listen to her? Is Barbara going to actually believe her that this doll is possessed? Of course not. Of course not. Here again, this is all completely believable. It's completely believable in the plotting, in the structure, in the character motivations and decisions. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Mancini nailed it with this. He nailed it. Script wise. I mean, and here again, the amazing thing is that, like I said, when he wrote Child's Play 3, he confessed he was completely out of ideas at this point. He needed time to think of more ideas. Well, that certainly paid off here. It absolutely paid off here. Not to go back to Halloween Kills, but if for anyone who has already seen Halloween Kills, highly recommend you check out Red Letter Media's review of it with Mike and Jay, who really do a number on it. And of course, one of their major complaints was how unrealistic it was that they brought back all these characters from the original. Tommy Doyle being played by a completely different actor, and how it became almost like it's a mad, mad, mad world version with, unnecessary political undertones. I'm not going to go into that. I mean, you can all watch the review for yourselves, but it was like it's completely unrealistic that all these characters are in the same fucking town and they're still obsessed with Michael Myers for what he did 40 years ago. Because that's the thing. Virtually every character says 40 years ago. Tommy Doyle says evil dies tonight about 65 fucking times. This movie is a lot more subtle. It's a lot more subtle and it's a lot more believable in its connections to the original movie, unlike Halloween Kills was to Halloween 1978. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, Curse of Chucky does everything right that Halloween Kills got wrong. And don't get me wrong, I did not hate Halloween Kills. I really didn't. But here again, what it tries to do in its attempt to connect to the original is very contrived, rather inane, and just straight up impossible to believe. I mean, look, let's be honest here. The 2 kids in the original, they should have been far from the town by that time. That is much more believable than them being obsessed with, tracking down Michael Myers and saying stuff like evil dies tonight and starting riots and everything, telling rather than showing. it's all nonsense. Entertaining nonsense to a point, but it's still nonsense. This is completely different, and it gets everything right that Halloween Kills does wrong. At least I think so. Hope everybody in the chat is doing well. Dan and Cable Channel 11. Hope you guys are enjoying Curse of Chucky here, watching it with me. And like, oh yeah, the reflection in the knife. Excellent. And see, that's the thing. Not only did he perfect the script from a writing standpoint, but you got to remember, Don Mancini is also directing this. He's pulling double duty, and whatever mistakes, whatever inexperience he had with Seed, Seed was essentially his way of proving to Universal that he can direct a movie. Because up until that time, they gave the first four films all to other directors. Tom Holland did the original, John Lafayette did number 2, Jack Bender did number 3, and then finally Ronnie Yu did Bride of Chucky. With this film, Don Mancini, whatever mistakes he made from a directing standpoint in Seed of Chucky, he avoided those completely with this. His direction is great and his writing is great, particularly for a sequel of a sixth sequel of a franchise. Absolutely impressive. Absolutely impressive. And here again, what I also love, especially one of the things I complained about Child's Play 3, is that it seemed like that Chucky only had one expression when he got angry and was about to go in for a kill. It was almost like he had one expression. Now, granted, this is 22 years later, but here we have a variety of expressions. That was one of my complaints with Child's Play 3. Don Mancini went out of his way to, give him a series of reactions which were all different in very small but effective ways. And here we have Barb doing not necessarily an unmasking, but discovering that, that this doll face has been repurposed and covered up. And this is in the attic too. So, oh man. See, I mean, just, that alone, that's, you can tell that there was a real tiny shift from one reaction to the other. The eyes are beginning. Oh shit. Oh shit. Yes. Now Chucky is really, 100%, now this is full Chucky mode. This is Alice is mine. Damn. Now she knows. And of course he does the unmasking of what he looked like in Bride and Seed. Oh, this is just brilliant stuff. Brilliant stuff. You have your mother's eyes, and they were always too fucking close together. Oh, see, there's a lot of like eye kills in this movie. There's a lot of damage to the eyes, and it kind of mirrors the damage to Chucky's own eyes, which is, here again, another brilliant aspect that Don Mancini put into the script, which I think, here again, it really, really rises it to a level that we hadn't seen before. We see this eyeball coming down the stairs, rolling down the stairs, like, oh my God, oh shit, oh. And Fiona out of her wheelchair, completely helpless, almost completely helpless at this point. And yep, there goes Barb. There she goes. Oh, that scream sounded authentic. That sounded like a legitimately authentic and horrifying scream. That's what I'm saying. Fiona kicks ass in this movie, okay? I mean, considering the fact that, look, family connection aside, if you never knew that, you don't have to know that, of course, she's Brad's daughter. She kicks ass in this role. Damn. Oh. Those screams actually still are putting chills in my body as we see Chucky coming down the stairs here. Oh man. But what is she gonna do? What is she gonna do? Okay, well, she got another chair in the closet, and oh man, her arm is all red there. Oh man. Oh, oh man. Chucky just like stepped on that eyeball, just smashed it. It makes me think of I don't know if any of you have heard about or remember the 1985 version of King Solomon's Mines, which had John Rhys Davis as a pretty nasty Turkish um, a pretty nasty Turk who was threatening Sharon Stone's father constantly with the expression, "I'm going to pluck out your eye and I'm going to squash it on the foot like a grape." Chucky accomplished that just a few minutes ago. Hmm. Anybody who's in the chat, please say hi. You know, Feel free to give me any more comments. Let me do a timestamp here real quick. 1 hour and 40 minutes and 30 seconds. Yeah, 1 hour, 4 minutes and 30, well, now 40 seconds. So we have about, oh, this is a 97-minute movie. So yeah, we have about 30 minutes left here. We have about 30 minutes left. Forgive me for just one moment as I take a tiny, tiny break. So, Now, this actor right here, his name is Brennan Elliott, and he's a Canadian actor, best known for a Lifetime medical drama series called Strong Medicine. But he's also had roles in shows like The 4400, Cedar Cove, and Unreal. And I'll be perfectly honest, I've never seen him before this movie. And looking at his resume here, there isn't. Oh, well, he was also in Night of the Museum, Secret of the Tomb. So that was his only other big movie role in this film. Yeah, Fiona's character is named Nika Pierce. I forgot to mention that at the very beginning. Now, there is an actor that is in some of the Chucky shots. It's not Ed Gale. Ed Gale was in the first few Chucky movies, or the first few Child's Play movies, rather. But in some scenes, and I believe the scene where Chucky comes down the stairs, I believe that was human and not an animatronic. Well, Debbie Lee Carrington plays the in-suit performer for Chucky this time around. And she is a little person. Yeah, she a stunt woman who's best known for playing the Martian rebel in Total Recall. I'm sure you remember when she grabs the machine gun and just starts shooting everybody in the bar. Okay, she plays Chucky in the in-person performer in this movie. So that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool. Oh, she was also in Howard the Duck, ironically, which of course Ed Gale played Howard the Duck. So yeah, wow, a lot of Howard the Duck references. And of course, the Chucky puppeteers include Tony Gardner, Peter Chavecco, Leela Talvo, William Terazakis and Christopher Sigurdsson. Massive applause to all of them too. God, I feel horrible. I mean, we had a half hour left of this movie, and I'm already burned out. I mean, talking all over Seed of Chucky. It's a please forgive me, everybody, for finally dying down here. But yeah, because I'm almost tempted to just stop the commentary and just enjoy the rest of the movie. But yeah, this is a sort of like a flip version of how everybody thought Andy was the killer in the first two films. Well, now he thinks that she is responsible for all of this carnage, which here again makes perfect sense. She's desperate for him to give him her the injection, so that she can remain conscious. She's going unconscious here. And this is a pretty creepy sequence too. Like, oh, the fade out of Chucky. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. And here, he's actually duct taped her hands to the wheelchair. Like, oh man. Like, ugh. I mean, considering the audience knows that she's 100% innocent, this is just downright cruel. I mean, this is just outright cruel what he's about to do to here. But of course, he's wondering like, where the hell is my daughter? Where the hell is my daughter? We don't know yet. I mean, we don't know yet. I mean, if Chucky has indeed killed her or not. She may be sleeping somewhere. I mean, who knows? I mean, we don't know yet where the daughter is. But as we find out with another little twist, is that the husband has planted a video camera. By the way, I purchased this with your MasterCard. Yeah, way to rub it in. way to rub it in. I love that, actually. He, of course, put a camera in the little good guy's pocket here. And of course, this is how he discovers that his wife has been having an affair with the live-in nanny, and but discovers that wait a minute, why is the camera moving by itself? They'll never find me in here, Chucky. This is the best game of hide and seek ever. Okay, just keep your fucking mouth shut. Damn. Damn. Now, see, the great thing is that, it's pretty clear that that little girl was not in the scene when that dialogue was said. It was probably easily looped in later. So she probably didn't hear the language during shooting, which will probably relieve some parents. Yeah, Chucky is now in in all his full glory here. And here again, just Fiona's reactions are spellbinding. They're absolutely horrifying, absolutely believable, and thus you empathize with her completely of what she's going through. I mean, she's now in like total hell right now. I mean, yeah, Chucky is about to kill this guy once and for all, and then all that's going to be left is Fiona, Nika, and the little girl who is still more probably hiding. Like, oh, you know what? That may have been CGI, but that's still an awesome death. Like, damn. Mm. Oh yeah. Bravo to the puppeteers and the animatronics, because they have seriously perfected this. They seriously have. And the interesting thing is, of course, I mean, obviously this has a lower budget than Bride and Seed. Well, here again, the only animatronics they really had to worry about was for Chucky this time around. No more no more Tiffany, no more Glenn, Glenda, that kind of thing. You know, they only have to focus on Chucky, and you know, and that's the thing, story wise and character wise. Oh, and Chucky gets beheaded. Yeah, go Nika. Love it, love it. I like how it lingers for a few seconds because we don't know. Oh my God, is he actually going to be able to go over there and put the head back on his body? Can he do that or not? And here again, I go back to the whole entire question: is that does Chucky feel pain? You know, well, unlike Child's Play 2, we don't see Chucky actually bleed in this movie. I mean, oh God. Oh God, that's a horrible, horrible cut. And am I wrong, or was that on on her right leg before? It looks like, I mean, it's all. It looks like it's on a different leg. Well, if it is, I don't want to know because that would be a major continuity error. uh, Slightly off topic, but if you want one of the great continuity errors in movie history, check out the movie Inner Space again from 1987 because there's a great bit in there where Marty Short gets shot by an electrical dart, and the guy from Commando who plays the bad guy, you know, he puts him over his shoulder, like, oh damn. He puts him over his shoulder, and then when he walks out of the restaurant, he's on the other shoulder. And on the commentary, they joked about that. Joe Donnie was almost embarrassed to bring it up, but then Robert Picardo, who plays another character in the movie, said, well, you know what? He could have flipped him if he got heavy in the hallway. That's a legitimate excuse. I mean, yeah, I could buy that. I could buy that. You know, that explains the continuity here. Oh, great, great. Oh. Okay, that is without a doubt Debbie Lee Carrington, who was, of course, the little person in Total Recall who had the machine gun. Oh yeah, that's awesome. That is so awesome. You're Charles Lee Ray, but my friends call me Chucky. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, just all great stuff here. I'm an old friend of the family, and here we saw this footage before in the newsreel footage. Now, this is where I'm going to confess. My lady friend pointed this out. This is an error. As you can see, Charles Lee Ray, he looks to be about maybe late 20s, early 30s. And this is supposed to be literally right before we see him in Child's Play. Well, if you actually see the very first scene in Child's Play when he goes to the toy store, he actually looks uh, much younger here than he does in that first movie. Now, this is Brad Dourif now, but with a little bit of makeup and a little bit of, I think, probably CGI enhancement, because that's the dirty little secret in Hollywood now, is that they're able to make actors much younger than they appear. I mean, they did that with Star Wars, which a lot of fans got pissed off about that. Because that's the thing. I mean, who wants to see a CGI Harrison Ford who's like 35 years old? You know, not going to happen. Not going to happen. But the weird thing is that the he doesn't look exactly like he does in 1988, which is kind of understandable. I mean, here again, the Terminator films experimented with this as well. You know, the idea of going back into the timeline where this character exactly looked like this, but when you look at Charles Lee Ray in that opening sequence of Child's Play, you know, like I said, the resemblance is off. It's not a fatal flaw. I don't think it is a fatal flaw, but at the same time, yes, the resemblance is off. But then again, I mean, it's just great to see Brad Dourif on screen again. I think that was the ultimate gift to Chucky fans, is we actually see Brad Dourif in the flesh for the first time since the original Child's Play. And of course, what it suggests here is that Nika is, believe it or not, actually Charles Lee Ray's daughter. That Charles Lee Ray had impregnated Sarah, Nika's mother. And yeah. Now, this actress, of course, this is Chantel Quesnel. She's also a Canadian actress. And she's done a lot of TV work, like in soap operas, but she was also in George A. Romero's Bruiser, for those who remember that film. And she's also done video game work and all that. I mean, yeah, that's Chantel Quesnel. Curse holds up. Oh, yes, Dan. Curse holds up extremely, extremely well. I mean, here again, let me do another time stamp here real quick. We are at 119. We are at 119, about to get to 120, and we have approximately 17 minutes. 17 minutes left to go for Curse of Chucky, and then I'm going to bed. But anyway, as we enter the third act here, and of course we realize the major twist of this story is that, well, Charles Lee Ray is actually Nika's father. Wow, who would have guessed? Who would have seen this coming? I also love how Dan Mancini handles the scene. He makes it in black and white, and the color is only coming from the flowers. I really like that, from the sunflowers that surround this that surround them. Very, very, very cool artistic choice on Don Mancini's part here. Well, at any rate, I mean, anybody that's still in the chat who has anything they'd like to say on Curse of Chucky, now's the time, because here again we have about approximately 15 minutes left here till we reach the credits. And here we have, of course, the bridge that's going to go into the original movie, so that everything comes full circle. Here's Charles E. Ray going to Toyland. Chris Sarandon shooting him again, and we see everything come full circle, which, here again, bravo, Don Mancini, bravo. See, Halloween Kills, this is how you do it. This is how you connect to the original without being unrealistic or silly. This is how you do it. This is how you do it. And here again, I did not hate Halloween Kills. There were things I liked about it, but that was a major contention for so many fans, and boy, do I see why. I absolutely understand why they complained about that so much. 25 years. 25 years from the original Child's Play. Yep. Let's see, just 1 second here. 25 years. This is how you do it. You remind me a lot of Andy Barclay. He was a whiny little bitch, just like you. And of course, we find out, of course, what's going to happen to Andy Barclay. And he says, I didn't kill him physically, but I killed his childhood. Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so yeah, the original was released in November of 1988, but Curse of Chucky was released in August of 2013. So, okay, maybe a couple months off, but then again, it actually got on VOD in September and then DVD and Blu-ray in October, just in time for Halloween. So, you know what? It's not exact, but look, you know what? Close enough. Pretty much almost 25 years to the month. Absolutely amazing. The slowest murder in history. Yes! Nika knows exactly how to get under Chucky's skin right here. Or under his rubber, I guess you could say. She knows exactly what she has to do. And of course, oh, great acting. Great acting here from Fiona. Going back up the elevator. Oh, damn. You feel that, don't you? Yeah, we all felt that, I think. I mean, that's what I'm saying. There are some legitimately scary moments in this movie. Legitimate suspense, legitimate scariness, which of course we haven't really seen since the 1988 original. Again, you want to play, motherfucker? Let's play. Yeah. Like I said, every second of this film, I fell in love with. Every second, pretty much every word of dialogue, every angle, every creative choice, everything. Everything. Hands down, my number one entry of this whole franchise. Hands down. And that's not me being a contrarian. Look, I understand and respect the fact that a lot of Chucky fans are still partial to Child's Play 2. As I said during that commentary, I have problems with Child's Play 2. I like it. It's just not my favorite. Oh. Oh. Oh, no. Shit. And finally, the police show up. Finally. Mm. Now, we're about to have some other callbacks. Now, that was Chris Sarandon earlier. That was archive footage. That was basically just archive footage of Chris Sarandon um, from the original Child's Play. But you know what? Even if it is just archival footage, it's still actually cool to see Chris Sarandon again. And like I said, we're going to see Catherine Hicks very briefly in just a photograph. I mean, we saw her in a photograph in Child's Play 3, and we're going to see her in a photograph in a minute over the end credits. But, and I think it's only in the unrated version. I think that the major difference between the unrated version and the R-rated version, aside from the additional gore, is the fact that we have another huge return from the original film and the second film in the post-credit sequence, which we will get to in just a moment. I mean, here again, we have to wrap up this part of the story, which here again, I mean, this ending works so much better for me than Bride and Seed. And especially Child's Play 3 and the original Child's Play. I mean, here again, hands down the best ending since Child's Play 2. Sure, it lacks that grandiose good guy warehouse climax, but here again, I think this ending works very, very well, and it wraps up the story beautifully. And when this movie ended, I couldn't wait to watch the next one. I could not wait. I was and I love how Don Mancini does this. Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit C, then the Chucky doll, and she just says, "I'm still alive. I'm still alive." Yeah, take that, Chucky. Look who's fucking with you now. You said don't fuck with the Chuck. Oh, she fucked with you bad, man. She fucked with you so bad. Oh, and this poor cop is going to meet his end with Chucky in the evidence bag. Oh, man. Wow. Mm. And granted, of course we know what's going to happen here pretty much. But here again, I still much prefer this ending over most of the endings endings in this franchise. And not to say that the other endings dropped the ball, but yeah, I really like this with the breathing and everything. Oh yeah. Like what the fuck? Ah! And another twist, Jennifer Tilly is going to actually finish the job. They never learn. Nope, they never do learn. Yeah, I think it was a genuine surprise to a lot of people that Jennifer Tilly is appears here at the ending. Gorgeous as ever, badass as ever. Oh, oh, forgive me, my heart is about to explode. Seriously, oh my god, oh man, she is so gorgeous. I love that. You can't put a price on love. Oh, that's true. I don't know who this actress is, but her reactions are priceless to what Tilly says. They are so priceless. And here we fade to black. And we see the little girl. So she did survive the ordeal. Thank goodness. Yeah. Thankfully, Don Mancini didn't go that far and have Chucky kill her. Um, but now this denouement has, the little girl uh, coming to her grandmother's house. And, oh, a box with the same label, the same shipping company. Oh, yeah. Oh no, Chucky, you found me. I told you I would. Oh no. Oh no. What's she doing down there? Nothing. I love it. Oh yes, Auntie Nika killed him. Yeah, Auntie Nika was responsible for all of this. Man, Andy Barclay got all the blame for the murders. Now Nika's getting the blame for all these new murders. Yeah, Chucky knows exactly how to pin all these crimes and murders on other people. He really knows how to do it. Give me the power, I beg of you. I like to think that Don Mancini actually, when he was done with the script, that he put his hand on it and he actually did the voodoo chant just to bless it in a way because oh man, he nailed it so much with this one, just nailed it. Mm, very slow pan, very slow pan. What are we gonna see after the slow pan? What what other surprises in store? I don't think anybody saw that coming either. So Jennifer Tilly as Tiffany, yeah, she was finally given a credit there. Now, like I said, this is the unrated version, so there is a post credit scene, which I will and did wait around for. So, but anyway, as these credits are going on, I want to thank everybody in the chat once again. Yeah, the cast is solid in the series as well. Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, very few you know I don't think I can complain about any of the actors in this entire franchise. Even Redman. I mean, even Redman feels right at home in seat of Chucky. I mean, seriously. But yeah, and of course, I mean, with let me just say something about end credits real quick because horror gal Susan and I touched upon this in our Bride of Chucky commentary. Whenever I go to the theater, unless I hated the movie or I'm very unsatisfied, I always walk out when the credits start. But 90% of the time, and for 30 years, I've always sat through the end credits. Whether it's just to listen to the music or just, give respect to the crew because they're never ever, they're very, very rarely cited among reviews and everything about all the entire crew and all the efforts they put in, and not just for the effects and the animatronics people, but even the hair and makeup people, the picture vehicle coordinator. I mean, of course, you know, even if their names are never really mentioned, I still like to show them respect by actually watching the credits, play out. Yeah, thank you so much, Dan. Yeah, look. I mean, seriously. I mean, 30 minutes to go with Curse of Chucky. I was seriously burned out at that point. But man, thank you very, very much. I mean, and here again, I mean, if you like the stream, please give me a like. I mean, I'm not one that usually says that kind of thing because I don't want to come off as desperate or anything. But no, look, I mean, if you like the stream, please give me a like and share this with your friends and all that jazz. And okay, so I think this was actually filmed in Canada. Yeah, it was filmed in the city of Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. So here again, we go to a completely different location and it works beautifully. Okay, so now the end credits are about done and we're about to have a post-credit sequence. And I think the first time I saw this, I would literally jumped out of my seat and applauded the movie because I think 6 months later, doorbell rings, we see another USX package, and wait, who is this guy? The funny thing is, even though I didn't recognize him, I did not recognize him when he actually physically got the package, and I thought, wait a minute. I think I know who this guy is. Oh yes, and I think even when he was going up the stairs, I think people were like, "Wait a minute, could this be Andy Barclay, all grown up?" Oh shit! Oh shit! mm. I love it. Chucky's gonna open the package himself. You see the knife coming out. It's like, oh man, that's awesome. He came prepared this time. Like, Andy, you're going down now. And there, of course, is a picture of Kyle from Child's Play 2. There's Catherine Hicks with little Andy Barclay from the original. And for anybody who was in doubt before, that's the connection. It's like, oh shit, this is Andy Barclay all grown up. I mean, look, I'm sorry. I think it would have been nice to see Chris Sarandon and Catherine Hicks again, and catch up with their characters, even if it's one small scene. And that's why I'm actually kind of hoping that we see them in the series eventually. And like I said, I haven't seen the series yet, but Andy, boom! Alex Vincent as Andy Barclay. Yes. And that, of course, how Curse of Chucky ends. And, awesome. Awesome. For anybody who was hoping beyond hope that Andy Barclay would return and the original Andy Barclay, there you go. So, all right. Well, like I said, thank you, everybody, for joining me. Before I stop the stream, I just want to let everybody know Monday night at 9 p.m., Monday night at 9 p.m., I will be doing an audio commentary, a 50th anniversary commentary for Peter Bogdanovich's The Last Picture Show, starring Jeff Bridges, Timothy Bottoms, Ellen Burstyn, and Academy Award winners Cloris Leachman and Ben Johnson. I'm currently finishing Larry McMurtry's book right now. Mr. McMurtry unfortunately passed away in March of this year. So this commentary is going to be dedicated to him and his legacy as a writer. So 9 p.m. Monday night, Last Picture Show. And also Halloween night. Next Saturday night, the 30th at 10 p.m., I will be finishing my Chucky commentaries with Cult of Chucky and Child's Play, the 2009 remake. next Saturday night at 10 p.m. Please be here for that. And then finally, last but not least, on Halloween night at 10 p.m., I shall be doing a commentary for Mario Baba's A Bay of Blood, aka Twitch of the Death Nerve, aka the original inspiration for Friday the 13th Part 2. So those are going to be my next 4 commentaries coming up. I hope to see as many of you as possible for then. And so on that note, I will wish you all a very, very good night. Stay safe. Enjoy your last week before Halloween. And like I said, I hope to see you either Monday, Saturday, or next Sunday night as I do some more commentaries. So thank you, Dan. Thank you, Cable Channel 11, for hanging out with me in the chat all this time. Anybody else who's watching, thank you so much. And you all have a good night. Thank you very much. You all take care now. Bye-bye.